that's all you hear. Like, oh, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Like jams are not the same no more. How they used to
I'm
be.
probably one of the big promoters of that because I talk a lot of shit about it.
But it's true. It's not the same. But the reason it's not the same because people, or perception of how the dance is now, it's different, and they're not seeing the true foundation of what it is. It's an art form. It's an expression. It's a feeling.
Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the last boat off the Titanic. Unfortunately, I'm the captain now, and this ship is sinking, baby. Today, I have a special guest. He's a b-boy and hip-hop enthusiast with one of the most interesting artistic minds that I know of. Hailing from Turlock, California, representing Hit Squad, the original Hispanic in tracksuits crew, Leonardo Ceviche himself in the flesh, Mr. Bboy Livic. What's up, my friend?
Yo, what's up, man? How you been?
I've been good, dude. Just kind of staying afloat
That's
in a
good.
sinking
That's
boat.
good.
How about you?
I've been chilling, man. Just working, with this whole epidemic going on.
Yeah.
So
It's definitely displacing a lot of people, and I think everybody's kind of just trying to get through it and figuring out their way through it. And yeah, I don't know.
exactly, man.
It's a hard time for sure, and I mean, it sucks because, it puts a damper on the whole like hip hop scene, and that's kind of our escape from the realities of life to come into this artistic world to kind of release some creative and positive energy. And a lot of that is kind of just, it's been dampered a lot. It's hard to stay connected to a social scene when there's not really social happening.
Exactly.
So it makes me kind of sad. But I'm trying to do my best to do, keep the ship moving.
Well, I'm happy that you're still doing it because a lot of people don't give you your flowers and what people say. So I appreciate what you're doing, and you're actually helping a lot of people, and you're letting them know their story. So what you're doing is actually very appreciated, bro.
Well, shoot, I appreciate that, man. Well, shit, with that in mind, dude, let's just jump right into this. Because I wanted to bring you on because I think you, as I said earlier, are like one of the most interesting artistic minds that I know of, because you just have a brain that thinks on a different level than everybody else. And I think you can see that through your dancing and your art. And I want you to kind of pick your brain about how that works. So can you maybe we could start with like what goes on in your mind when you're creating something?
Well, as a young kid, I was always a curious kid.
Mm-hmm.
I always questioned life or anything, or what's the letter after X? Why does this and this? So I used to tell my teachers, I remember Mr. Grishaw, I used to tell him, why does life has to be working this way, or why things have to understand how the world works. So he told me one day, go to the library and there's philosophy books. And I went to the library and the librarian wasn't there. So I was trying to look for some books, and I saw some dusty, the dusty old books that are all red. And then there's the black ones that have
like
numeral numbers. Yeah. So I asked the lady, what are those books that nobody grabs? And they were actually about philosophy, about like Descartes, Plato, Aristotle, all these great philosophers. Kant, Watts, Rousseau, Machiavelli.
There's so many.
Yes. So Socrates, you can't forget him.
Socrates,
yeah. So I got deep into philosophy at a very young age, and this is in elementary. So while kids were trying to go, don't get me wrong, I love recess, but I was always curious and trying to figure out things about the world and life. So reading these books made me go deep into the art aspect. So I was really researching, how does the concept of art came from? So obviously it's from hieroglyphics. But what's the objective of art from the hieroglyphic? And it's the message. They're trying to express a message. And it's the same thing connected with anything that you do with art, with comedy, with painting. You're expressing the message of what you live through or what you do.
I see. Yeah.
So the closest concept of the philosophy that I saw of art, it's the same thing I used in hip hop. Because hip hop is the same thing. It came out of nothing and it was created. How it all started. You know, obviously they don't talk about Cindy a lot, but that was Kuhert's sister. And they, shout out, not hating on Kuhert, but if it wasn't for Cindy, you know, hip hop, if it wasn't for her show or the place that she had that brought Kuhert.
Was she the one who put together the parties or whatever?
Yeah, Kuhert. And things wouldn't pop off.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
So,
well, go ahead. Yeah.
No.
I was gonna say, so you're kind of deriving meaning, or you're like kind of looking between the lines and seeing relationships between things that maybe are not so obvious and making those connections, and that's kind of driving a lot of what you're doing.
Yes, my creativity comes from not breaking. It comes from other things in life.
Yeah.
Like from philosophy, from the stories of Malcolm X, of Martin Luther King, Chavez, all these people, their stories.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds weird, but that's what drives me and inspires me through their stories. So I know you're seeing it as just breaking, but I see it way more than that.
No, I'm thinking of it way different. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I mean out of the box. Like, I mean, because art is just it's something that you can express through any medium. Dance, for instance, painting, whatever. I mean, music, whatever. There's some of the weirdest art projects I've ever seen before. I mean, even video games can be art.
Exactly.
It's like even just an idea can be art. You know, you hear about these like events or something that they'll plan where just something weird happens, and it's a moment in time, and just the idea that moment will always be there, but you can never re-experience it. It's artistic in a way, you know what I mean? So you can really express in so many different mediums, and that's why I like art. And that's, you know, I think you recognize that you can do that. It's not just freaking figuring out the dopest 6-step or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, it goes way deeper than that, and you obviously express it in many different ways.
Yes. And that's how I see the hieroglyphics. If you talk about like Sumerians, how they created the alphabet, that's art. Creating an A is art. But people just see it. We see it now because we ended up finding it as an A or as a apple or anything, but it's really art, and it's the foundation of everything. If you look at the word earth, it has art in it.
Yeah.
So the whole world, everything that you see, it's an artistic form. And that's what I drive.
Well, someone had to create it, and art in itself is creation. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where I get inspired by through that. Like when I grew up, I didn't look at a b-boy and say, yo, I want to be him. I'm from the era where I looked at a b-boy and I didn't want to bite him. I respected his art form and what he contribute to the art aspect of it. So from the creative standpoint, that's what I wanted to do, because he was original and he was unique. And that's the same thing you see in life. If you listen to all these philosophers like them, the objective is they wanted to contribute something for life. And it's the same thing as with hip hop. That's the objective of what B-boy or B-girl represents. You're here to create, to contribute, not just to break and be in the scene.
I've always looked at it as like a feeling, rather, you know, like the person experiencing the art, they have a certain emotion that happens when they do that, or the person who's doing it has a certain emotion to it. And so whenever I see whatever art, whether it's dance, whatever, I see it and it has some reaction to me, the most interesting stuff is, are the ones that do that to you, obviously. And so that's the stuff that I want to bite, in terms of I want to be able to do the same thing to you, to make, when I do, like, say a dance move or whatever, make you feel the same way. Exactly. When you say, like, oh my God, what happened? Like one of the, I guess I tell this story a lot is when I was young and I first saw Dizzy dancing. He did this weird little kick sweep thing. I didn't know what the hell it was, and it just like boggled my mind. And that feeling of just being completely confused, even though I saw his movement 50 times or whatever, and just still being confused by how he did that and just amazed at it. I loved that feeling, and I wanted to do that to other people. And that's kind of one of the fundamental things that I do when I create moves, is I want you to feel that same feeling. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily biting. I would say that that's just, I guess, trying to give a feeling. I mean, it's.
I think the concept of biting, I think it's way misunderstood. I believe biting is whack to me.
Yeah,
but but people see it as like, okay, because this guy did 6-step and I do 6-step, so that's biting. No, they're not seeing the big picture. Once you become a biter or you're copying someone's move, you're downgrading the art form of it. If we keep accepting it and we accept people to keep copying other people's moves, then where's the art aspect? Where's the originality?
Yeah.
So it's cool to look at someone. Like I said, I looked at someone. Like when I first started, the first jam that I ever went to was Mighty 4. And the first person that I saw smoking everyone and stand out, it was Beta. She entered and she
beast. Freaking beast.
Yeah, shout out to Beta. And she smoked everyone there. Like she was the illest. And that's my first experience to go to a jam and watch her do that.
Yeah.
And then later in the future, me battling with her, that's why I break. That's why I live this. And I do it because I don't do it for this whole fame thing or getting recognized. I'd rather be like the MF Doom of breaking than being a mainstream, everybody knows me. I do it because the art aspect.
Yeah. I mean, you have a different connection to breaking than, probably a lot of people is you're trying to make a statement in terms of art rather than make a statement in terms of the dopest move or whatever.
Exactly.
Or like win a competition or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I think in breaking, I mean, in hip hop in general, I think a lot of that is kind of getting pushed to the wayside. It's all about hype nowadays and stuff. And, what's the hypest shit that's on social media and stuff. And I think people forget that this actually is something deeper than that. People have this connection to art and it means something to them. And they're doing it for a lot of different reasons and expressing that in their dance. And if you look hard enough, you can see that. You know what I mean?
Exactly, man. And that's how I see it. It's like my greatest moment of my dance is when, I'll tell you a story. So you remember there was a jam where Ken Swift, he came to judge in Sacramento. I forgot what jam was it.
It wasn't that old one that it was in Stockton.
No, it was in Sac. Because I remember he barely moved. He barely moved to LA. It's just kind of recent.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think I was at that one.
I forgot what jam it was, but he came down, and obviously I seen him around. Yeah, but the Cypher popped up, and it was like they put my favorite break. You know, when you put your favorite break,
you got to dance.
You're just gonna go off, and I went off and I killed it. And when I walked back, Kenny was right beside me.
Oh yeah.
And he gave me the knuckle.
Tight.
So that's why I break. That's why I do art. Because my objective was always the people that inspire me, I wanted to inspire them. And if they understand what I do, then that's what it is. That's the ultimate to me.
That's cool. No, I mean, because obviously you've been heavily inspired by him, and then you can turn around and inspire him back.
And he's never seen me.
Yeah.
So he understands what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's the illest thing that could ever happen. And the crazier part is that he went off. He went out. So I don't know if my reaction of him seeing me made him the energy to go out. That was like, dude, it's an amazing feeling having someone that inspired you comes out after you. It's incredible, man. And that's why I break. That's why I love this culture. That's why it's not about, like I said, it's not about this whole being famous, or it's about interacting with people. And if you notice, you don't see a lot of footage of me. I try to stay as underground as I can, because when I go to a jam, people are like, what? I never seen this guy. Where's these moves? And that's the whole objective of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to teach you in person what it made me feel when I first saw Beta.
That's dope. Yeah, no, that's really dope. Yeah. No, I mean, because nowadays, a lot of it is just like, hey, post the dopest thing on social media, and everybody already seen it before you get to the jam. But yeah, and I mean, in my opinion, we've been losing that emotion you feel when you see this random dude show up and just fucking destroy it. And I mean, I remember so many times that happened. Actually, Tony the Tiger from freaking Hit Squad, what was his old crew?
Mad Action
Crew.
The illest crew, man. That's the illest crew.
Yeah, from Central Valley, California. The illest. And I mean, I would say they weren't like in the limelight or nothing, but when they showed up to the jam, you were like, oh, there's going to be problems, because these guys are going to put it on everybody. Cornut, I mean, but I'm saying that because I had that feeling when I saw Tony first break, because I seen this dude, and I mean, he had like a broken arm at the time, so he had a cast on. He's kind of chubby, looking like it was at a car show, and so he just looked like a regular dude at the car show. And then they do this battle, and I'm there just like seeing what's up with the battle. And this was probably when I first started breaking, and I seen them call out Tony the Tiger, and I was like, oh, that's a funny name. And then he walks up, I'm like, this fucking taco truck looking dude, like about to break, and then he just straight killed it, and I was like absolutely amazed. I was like, oh my god, this guy is killing it. And then he gets to the finals, he kills it. I think it was against Otai, who was also Mad Action. And he won the jam, and it just like blew my mind, just because this dude that I just totally assumed was just some regular guy came out and just was one of the biggest inspirations in my life. And so I look back at that going like, man, I wish everybody could get that experience. And
that's exactly why I do it for, man. Yeah. And those are actually, Tony's actually one of my teachers. And like actually teacher. Like there's not a lot of people that taught me how to do. You got to understand that our era, you had VHSs, we didn't have YouTube. Yeah. So you'll learn through watching videos. Yeah. So when I first started with this dance, I started popping. Like first I was into popping and house dancing, because back then, like in 97, there was not a lot of breaking hip hop jams. It was more about raves out here in North Cal.
I mean, there wasn't really jams.
Yeah, I mean, but there was a lot.
Just dance parties, really.
Yes, dance parties or raves, and we used to go to raves, and that's where you saw the breakers, and that's where I first saw Chewy. I saw Chewy, Otai, Ivan, Remind, and like all these people. You see them at raves. Yeah. You wouldn't see them in breaking jams because there wasn't not that
really
many
jams. I mean, the jam is kind of a new thing. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, when was the first competition? It's probably around the first time of Battle of the Year. Like, it's probably mid-90s or something, right? Like, I mean, and that there was really just a couple of them. So, I mean, and before that, what the hell was there? There was obviously breaking still. It was just freaking parties and just dancing and stuff, you know?
Yeah, and actually that's how it all started. A lot of people don't know that when people were going to Kool Hert's party, it's because they were saying, yo, there's people dancing out over there. They're doing some different dance. And if you look at it as a kid perspective, look at now. Oh, they're doing a new dance. And that's what Kool Hert brought. That people think he was just DJing and throwing a party. But nah, what made it hip-hop is that they were dancing. And everybody wanted to come and see the dancers.
You know what I love about the story of Kool Herc and hip hop is that they weren't trying to create anything. They were just doing it because they saw something happening organically and just rolled with it. Because what I mean, as far as I understand what was happening, he's DJing, he's playing some songs, he would dig a lot for records, find something dope, and he would play it, and then he would see people dancing and whatever. He's like, oh, they like this song, let me play something else that's kind of like that. And they would, you know, he'd see people just go completely wild on certain parts of the song, and he's like, yo, let's extend that because I want to see what else they do. That's when the break was created. So in a way, you could say pre-breakers created the break. So it's kind of like an incestuous like creation process. Like he was seeing that the dancers were reacting to the music he's dropping, and then he's reacting to those dancers like, let's see some more here, let's loop it, boom, oh, now they're doing something else, boom, man, I got another idea, yo, I got a song that's kind of like this though, let's play that one break that's from that one, boom. And then you just created a whole culture back and forth just playing along with that. And I think it's so cool when you really break down how that would have happened and to now what it is now. Like you couldn't have hip hop if you didn't have just some wild dancers just going wild, you know what I mean? And you couldn't have that if you didn't have a DJ that was paying attention to a dance floor.
Exactly.
Like you just can't have hip hop without that. And so I love that story.
Yeah, and you needed people with the mic. You needed people there talking and to feel the party, the energy.
Yeah.
And that's what I think people don't experience when they go to jams no more.
Yeah.
They don't experience that. People. That's all you hear, like, oh, it's not the same. It's not the same. Yeah. Like, jams are not the same no more how they used to be.
Yeah, I'm probably one of the big promoters of that because I talk a lot of shit about it.
But it's true. It's not the same. But the reason it's not the same because people, their perception of how the dance is now, it's different. And they're not seeing the true foundation of what it is. It's an art form. It's an expression. It's a feeling.
Yeah. I think the focus has just kind of shifted a little bit. I do think people still are trying to chase, like, making people feel a certain way when they do a dance, but I think it's all kind of going towards, I just want them to be hyped and clapping for me. And there's not a lot of people approaching it from something else. Like, I want them to feel kind of weird. Or, like, I think, like, in Freak Show and Circus Runaways situation, whenever I saw those guys and I saw them dance, there was like a little bit of fear in me because I was like, dude, those guys are like kind of crazy, like they're just like, you don't know what's happening with them, like, and at that time, like, their style was just so different from everybody. And so, like, I really look at that as such an artistic way of dancing because they added this kind of like I want to say like a battle makeup type of like feeling, like you're going to war a little bit when I seen them dance. And so it's like they were bringing that into their art. And I guess you still see a little bit of that, sure, but I don't know. I don't see as wide of an array of emotions that they're trying to make you feel with art.
Yeah, and I agree.
This episode of Noise of the Broke Boys is brought to you by Outside. Have you developed a fear of the sun because you stay inside all day commenting on YouTube videos? Or maybe you've developed an addiction to posting about how awesome your life is on social media between your day job as an overpriced thrift store clothes model and side hustle selling your new rap mixtape. Talk to your doctor to see if outside is right for you. 5 out of 5 people that have tried going outside have seen positive results ranging from, but not limited to, talking to actual people, feeling sun on their skin, moving their bodies, and not caring about the latest celebrity gossip. Happiness is just around the corner and through a door. Talk to your doctor about going outside.
Some participants of going outside have suffered severe injuries and even death from, but not limited to, being hit by a bus, coronavirus, being eaten by wolves, a piano falling on them from a 10-story building, and kidnapped by terrorists.
And now, on to the show. That's why I love modern art, because they kind of do everything.
Exactly. Yeah. They combine everything. Yeah, if you look at even painters, if you look at Dali's art, if you look at Picasso's, if you hear their stories of their art stories, like Picasso used to copy people, and then out of a sudden he came out with his own style. You hear Dali, everybody.
A lot of them learn by copying paint. That was like one of the common practices of a lot of the art schools, is they would go and look at, like, say, the Mona Lisa and try to copy it, figure out the brush strokes of it by observing the painting and how it was worked. So in a way, you're learning brush strokes by studying a painting, right? And you do that to all these different types of paintings. So then by the end of that, you actually understand a lot of different methods of painting. And so then at that point you have basically foundation of painting, and then you do whatever you want. And obviously like Dali, Picasso, they think on a completely different plane, and came up with some wild ass art. And I mean, it's amazing. I mean, especially I look at like Picasso's art, and he would want you to feel a certain way about it.
Yeah,
like,
because he actually got emotions. His art was based on emotion.
It was all, he would say, what do I want you to feel when you see this thing?
Exactly.
And how do I paint it that way?
Like, even if you look at his whole history, when he was about to die, I don't want to go, because he talks about very, like, he got into, the sex, and then he started drawing. I don't know if you've seen his documentary.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, he got into that, because at the end, he couldn't do that no more.
Oh.
So he drew a lot of that.
Oh,
because he couldn't feed off that. So that's the same concept of how I see art and how I express my style. When I create, back to the answer you were talking about creating, it's all connected when it comes to art. So when I create, I have different ways of creating. Sometimes I break down what I see myself doing, and sometimes I just let the music dictate my sound and my movement. And then the last one is I close my eyes and I just dance. And you can feel your whole body, how you're moving. But to get to that point, you need foundation. Yeah. And if you don't got foundation, you won't understand none of this.
There's definitely like a balance of raw emotion and skill that you have to really know how to balance on as an artist, I think. Because when you're so technical and you're not going by emotion, your art is going to feel real robotic, right? And if you're only going on pure emotion, it's going to be kind of like chaotic, or it like kind of doesn't make sense. But when you're balancing between those 2 points, you have a lot of skill, meaning you have a lot of vocabulary to work with to make your art,
your arsenal,
and you have a deep connection to an emotion so that you can make someone feel something using all these tools. And so I think it's a very fine line to like balance on. And there's a lot of people that do it really well. There's a lot of people that don't do it so well. A lot of people like kind of on the path.
I think that's the thing that we need to teach these young kids, and not it's.
I don't know if you could teach it though. I think you got to arrive at it a little bit.
I think yes. It's like everything in life. Obviously, you do have to grow to it, but I think that's the first thing, because when you teach a kid, you teach them, oh yeah, I'm gonna teach you how to do 6-step. Oh, they want to learn a windmill. When that is obviously a foundation too. But the main key for him to grow and to expand his style is through emotion, through what he's feeling, through what inspires him.
Yeah.
And most kids that you see, like I think the illest kid right now is Lorenzo.
That kid is really dope.
So
how old is he? Like 10?
I don't know.
Shout
that
out.
Kid is. Yeah, man. He's you see that he understands it. He's technical. He's now being very creative. He's creating his own moves, and he's listening to real hip hop. He's listening, not saying real hip hop, but he listens to Big Al, people that actually have influenced music. He's not. It's not bad to listen to other genres and break. I do that all the time.
I do that most of the time.
Yeah. So, but when you dive into the actual hip hop of where it came, the boom bap, the sound, it does make you dance different. So if you dance to trance or you dance to, I don't know, energy or anything, it makes you dance different. But it takes time for that. You're not gonna teach it to a kid. But I think that's the first thing that we need to tell them, that the objective of the dance is not learning how to do 6-step and learning how to do the windmill. It's more about expressing the feeling.
Yeah.
And most kids that we teach, we don't teach them that.
Yeah, it's hard. Well, I would make the argument that that's something you don't need to teach a kid, because that's literally what they do all the time. Like, you put music on and they hear the music. It's so common to see a little kid just start freaking dancing around and doing wildness. And like, obviously they don't know how to do any dance moves or something. They're just kind of going with what the feeling is, but they already understand the feeling, you know what I mean? Because they're already moving, you know what I mean? They just need to understand some techniques and apply it to it, so they just need to learn some vocabulary in terms of dance. But obviously they already have a connection to an emotion, right? They just need to figure out how to turn that emotion into something that other people can also feel. I mean, in a way, you know, they're already doing that, but just kind of in a very rudimentary thing. So in my opinion, you don't need to teach a kid how to do that. You need to teach a kid to not stop doing that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
I never saw it like that, but it makes sense.
Right. I mean, because a lot of times you get social pressure. You know, you get a little older, and then the kid is like shy. I don't want to dance. You know, people might think I'm weird or whatever.
But that's subjective. Yeah, you're right. That's the objective of the dance, is not.
But they were already doing that. And I mean, obviously, I feel like when I was a kid, I was probably doing that all the time. And then at some point, I was probably like, this is probably not the right social setting to do this. When did that happen? Someone had to teach me how to do that, or something showed me to stop doing that. I think that's what we gotta like try to avoid. And I mean, obviously you want to learn good social skills still, but you also don't want to lose a connection to like an emotion that can really help develop your art. And I mean, I think that's the fundamental part of creativity. And that's why, you know, I'm a big proponent of doing creative things in schools. Because I think that's a big part of like development.
Yeah,
and I'm not a fucking scientist or nothing.
No, but it's true. If you look at anything of the foundation of what was the first thing we did, we created.
Yeah.
And how did we expand as a world from creating?
Yeah.
So it is.
I mean, if you really break down hip hop, and like the story I was saying earlier with Kool Herc, that's how the fuck that happened. He was playing music, and people were just like, and going back to that time when they were a kid and like, oh man, I love this shit. I just feel like jumping on the fucking ground right now and rolling on there. Hey, what the hell? That kind of looks like a windmill. Or no, I don't even know what a windmill is, but we're going to call it that. You know what I mean? Like, that's fucking how it happened.
Exactly.
So, in my opinion, the feeling that a child has is what created hip hop. And so, getting back to that, I think is what we should really be pushing a lot.
That's exactly what I was trying to explain, and you explained it perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the feeling I want to push him so he could grow to be that. Because once, you know, when like you were bringing up Kool Herc, when the reason why he threw these parties, because other people that were going to him didn't get accepted or didn't believe. Like, it was the outcasts, you could say. It's like the graffiti writers used to chill there. People that wanted to not be rebellious, but they saw life in a different way. And that's the same thing of art. You don't see it. If you put a kid and you show him a picture, our brain is, if we see like a tree picture, saying I'm just making up something, but we look at it, we're gonna see, oh, it's a tree. But if you put a kid, he's gonna tell you it's a tree something, or because his brain is barely expanding. So his creativity is beyond. But us, because we already see something and we know it's a flower, we call it a flower. But that's the same way I see art. So when I see a flower, I don't define it as a flower. I define it as more. And when I see myself breaking, like saying I see a windmill.
Yeah.
So I go, what can I twist this windmill? And I really think about it, something that's never been seen in this world.
That reminds me of the like pictures that you see where it looks like some girl's ass, and then you zoom out and it's like a fucking lamp or something.
Exactly.
I love that shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the whole point.
But yeah, no, I mean, you're looking at that as an adult and going like, I want this to be that. But if a kid saw that, they'd probably see, oh, it's a whatever, it's a lamp, or it's just these colors or whatever. Like, they probably are not already associating like a meaning, because they're not necessarily looking for something in it. They're just seeing an assortment of colors and shapes and stuff and trying to figure out what that is.
And that's what you need to see breaking as. Yeah. So you, when you see a move, saying you see six step, you're gonna try to break down the foundation of six step into your own creative move.
Yeah.
When someone told me this is the way you need to do it, that's the reason why I wanted to break, because I didn't want no one to tell me this is the right way to do it. I wanted to do it my way. I wanted to contribute something to the world, because I think as humans, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
We're here to contribute and give. We're designed to give. We're designed to contribute, because one day we're going to die. And the most important thing is the child. It's the youth. That's the most qualifying thing in this world. So when like I said, when I saw a move, that's the way I saw the move. I'm gonna twist it as much as I can.
Yeah. Well, I love trying to, I've always had a problem with the idea of fundamental move, because whenever I see someone dance, I'm not really picking apart what their moves are. I'm kind of just focusing on the movement as a whole and the story that they're kind of telling with their body and the different moves and how it's involved with the music. So I've always kind of looked at it already like that. And so then when they're like, oh yeah, we got to do 6-step and this and then that and then whatever, CC here and hit a chair freeze or whatever, it started making me think more in, I guess, I don't know, in my opinion, a more robotic way.
Yes.
And
I think that's how it's going right now, to be honest.
Yeah, and so I've tried very hard to get away from that. I obviously, when I first started breaking, I was learning all these fundamental moves, and it's like, for a long time, I was just getting really good at that stuff, and I'm like, but what's the fucking purpose of this? Like, there's no way, like, I think a 6-step is whack, I think a CC is whack, so what the fuck, what am I gonna do with this? And that was when I said, I don't need to do it. All it did was teach me how to move my body, how to understand my body. And so in my opinion, all these fundamental moves was just a journey to understand your body. And so now I can just forget that shit because I know my body. So now what do? I just make shapes with it and I just go with the flow. And, and I have a understanding of music. I have an understanding of space. I have an understanding of my body, and I can do what I want with it now. And, I've made a solid effort to just stray away from doing foundational type of moves, because I want to just have, I don't want to have someone be able to pick my style up. Oh, that was a 6-step there. That was this move.
Exactly.
Obviously I do some of that stuff, but I want them to get something else out of it. Like when they see it, go, man, what the heck was that? It's like, yeah, it kind of has the shape of a CC, but it's different. It's something different,
It's because I think you really, if you want to be creative, you really have to sit down and think out of the box.
For sure.
But you gotta know your foundation. Without your foundation, you can't create nothing.
What do you think like foundation truly is, like in a broad spectrum of like everything, like in just the world of creation? Like what do you define as foundation? Like outside of breaking, even just, involve like every kind of art. Like what would you call foundation in those things?
I think an expression. It really just as simple as that. It's just expressing what you feel through if you're saying it through painting, like when I paint through feeling. I don't look at something and I'm just gonna paint it. If I try to imagine if I'm in a rock and I paint the rock.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think the foundational, the most important thing, the foundational thing is what you're trying to express.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think foundation at its fundamental core is the understanding of the medium that you're using, right? And that medium can be dance. So the understanding of dance would be obviously like your body, music, just the things involved to actually create that art, right? In painting, it would be brush strokes, different types of brushes, colors, like an understanding of how those things work together.
Yeah, for any
I think that's what the foundation really is. If you were to look at, let's say, like a movie as an art, like you understand lighting, you understand acting, you understand how to make certain emotion with a certain scene or something, like you understand story writing. That's the tools that make you successful in that medium. That's what I would call foundation.
Okay.
And so when someone comes to me and says foundation is this, like a certain set of moves, I like to push back and say, that's not really the overarching goal. That's just a list of moves that have more like training techniques in order to learn a lot of the tools to be good in this thing. Like you say, 6-step, it teaches you really how to move around your body, centering around, like say your chest or your hands. It's teaching you that skill. You don't need to do a 6-step. Once you know how to do that, you know how to move your body, you can just run around and fucking just like throw your legs wherever because you're so comfortable in that position because you did a 6-step drill so many times, you understand it. So in my opinion, all those moves, it's just a drill to understand the medium better. get what I'm saying?
Yeah. But when it comes to breaking, I think it's different. I think you do need to have a lot of moves because the objective
it's vocabulary for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Because the objective of, as a breaker, the objective of you going to a jam is for you to not repeat. That's really the objective of what it is for you going to a jam. When you go to a jam, the purpose of you going there is to not repeat and keep expressing all the moves that you created at the jam while you're battling with someone that understands what you're doing. That's the objective of just going. I'm not talking about battling. I'm not talking about going how we see it now, where we go and we sign up and we do exhibitions. I'm just going over there, going to Cypher, and people noticing your style, noticing what you do and what you contribute. Yeah. That's the main thing. So, but now if you see it as kids, you know how kids now, we see it like some guy comes out and does some creative style, but then this guy comes and does some athletic stuff. And they always choose the athletic stuff because it's harder to do. And I think our judges or how people are judging now, I don't get it. I don't know why it's changing to that. If you look at it, my bad, but if you look at it in the beginning, the first purpose of a B-boy or a B-girl, they had a nickname because they weren't Victor. It was somebody else. And when they had their name in the back, you know, it was the whole objective of them was to bring something that you don't have from this real world.
Yeah.
Kind of get what I mean? So when you see these people or judging, or some people that I believe they shouldn't be judging, but they're judging, and they choose that more athletic side because it's harder to do. I think it's a misconception of what this dance is about.
Well, you know what I look at? I think they do have the right to judge, and because ultimately they have the right to have an opinion about art, right? Now, do I respect it? I don't know. It depends. I tend to, if it's just an opinion, I want to hear the opinion, right? But I have my own opinion already. What I'm going to do is try to take into account what these people are seeing as well into my own opinion. I don't need to necessarily agree with them, but I think they have the right to have it. But when I look at, say, like a jam or battle that's actually being judged, I think if you're looking at it in terms of what the judges think, my success is tied to what the judges think. And if you already have a differing opinion anyways on just the overall style of dance, and they have, you know, they have something different, and then they're saying you win you win or you lose, in my opinion, I think if you already are looking at this whole thing in a different way, what does that opinion even matter to you? Exactly. You know, so you just got to take it with a grain of salt, in my opinion.
But
I've won a lot of jams where I didn't think I won because I just felt like off, and I was maybe going against someone who was just flopping or whatever. And, you know, I mean, maybe if I was to rewatch the footage, maybe I did win or whatever. But at that moment, I was like, I don't feel good about the art I just created. Therefore, I don't think I won, and I don't give a fuck what these judges say about it. I didn't win, and I'm not going to accept the prize. And so it's happened to me a lot of times where I just gave the prize to the other person because I'm like, I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, and I can see that you were, and maybe your execution wasn't on point or whatever, but I can see that you are on a level of art that I just wasn't on here today. And for some reason, these judges didn't see that. But you, like, I have a respect for my own opinion that I have to acknowledge here, and that I got to give the prize money to this person. And so that's happened many times in my life.
I see it the same way. But it's important to have a good judge, because whatever judges are out in the table, it's what the future's going to be. Whatever they choose, it's what the future's going to dictate of how a B-boy or B-girl represents. Yeah. So it is important to have qualifying judges, and I understand it's their opinion, but if you look at the system right now, man, it is just, to me, they're not judging right. I might be wrong because that's the way it's an opinion, obviously, but
It's an opinion about an arbitrary thing that we've given value in the scene.
But if
like,
you, if you
right,
no,
but what do you value?
Okay, that's what I'm gonna explain.
You value.
So if you break it down, what's the hardest thing in breaking?
I think just having the right connection to like yourself and expressing that in the way you want.
And creativity.
Sure, yeah.
I believe creativity is the hardest thing in breaking.
Mm-hmm.
So when a person that does every generic move or does 100 air tracks, which is only one move,
mm-hmm.
in very different ways, and this guy comes out and does, I don't know, 7 moves, but it's not as explosive, but it's very creative.
Mm-hmm.
They give it to the guy that did 100,000 air tracks, and
yeah.
So
it's just what that judge values. That judge is valuing.
But to you, does that make sense?
I wouldn't agree with that judge for sure. But
so you feel like he should be there?
Again, like I think he has his right to his opinion. But here's the thing: is like we're giving a arbitrary value that's high to a competition, but the competition just kind of came out of just, because hip hop never had a competition before, but for some reason now we value the competition over what the actual hip hop is. Yeah. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, if I'm over here going like this competition world is what defines everything in this art world, even though it's only like a small little piece of it, and most judges aren't really judging on the things that I actually value, why do I hold the value of this thing so high? That's what I'm saying. And so when I look at it going back, I go, yeah, I think most of the scene probably values that more than just dancing, creating, which is a damn shame, I think. But I think they have their right to be able to do that. I wish the scene, what I wish is that, because the thing is that competitions are very fun to watch, and I love to watch competitions, and just see just raw energy going at it. And I think people see that, they get interested in it, want to go deeper. And what I hope is that those people do go deeper and see like a greater connection to the world and everything by going deeper and getting past the competition, because the competition is just surface level in my opinion.
It is because even that's if you notice, I used to not enter jams a lot.
Yeah.
And the reason why I just ciphered, and if I want to call out someone, I'll go into cipher. I don't need to go in a competition to do it. And the reason I started going to more dude, I got asked to be in so many exhibitions.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I think me and you are on the same level with that. It's like we turn down a lot of stuff because it's just, we don't value it as much as I think a lot of people.
And it's not as fun. I don't know. To me, I feel like
if it's not fun,
I'm not even battling him. I'm battling the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be in Flexible Flav, which was at one point one of the dopest crews in the world. And I left the crew because it just wasn't fun for me to do it. And I mean, people thought I was crazy at the time, but I was like, I started dancing because I wanted to have something fun to do. And at this point, it's becoming just like it's a hassle in my life, because you obviously got a lot of stuff going on in your life and shit, and you want to do that. And so when it's the thing that I loved because it was a way to escape from craziness in my life, is now becoming the source of the craziness in my life. Like I realized I'm just doing something wrong. And that was when I was just like, I got to leave this crew. And no knock to them. Like, I mean, I think they're doing their thing, and they obviously did their thing. It's a legendary crew in my opinion, but it's like, I valued something else that was outside of that competition scene. And I had to get myself out of it in order to, I guess, see maybe more of a light, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's what the problem with the scene. I think a lot of people want to be winners or want to keep winning. Yeah, and I never cared about that.
I don't knock them for that, but
I know, because that drives them to obviously become better.
I think it's dope to see a competitive scene. I think as long as everyone understands what it is, it's just this arbitrary thing that's a small piece of hip hop, but it's not the hip hop that we all have this like love for. But
the way it's going, they're not gonna see that no more. And
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because we promote that as like the surface level thing that everybody wants to see, and that's like the highlight of the whole scene at this point. Yeah, I would say people are not getting exposed to the stuff that we value as much as they get exposed to competitions. But also, does that detract from like the stuff that we love? I don't know if it does, because there's still going to be people that see that, get deeper into it, and then see like how much value they can have in the rest of hip hop. Right? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's not, I don't think you're losing
It's a
value.
balance. It's a balance.
I don't think you're losing value from it. I wish that what we value was maybe higher on the scale in the overall population, but you know, I'm not going to knock people for valuing what they value, you know?
That's the way they see it. So
that's the way they see it. And, you know, God bless to them. I mean, I can't, you know what I mean? I don't know what to say. It's just like,
it's like what we were talking about last time, that we can't feel what Ken Swift went through because that's an era. And
exactly.
And they can't come to art, but we could express it.
Yeah.
And that's the closest
like
thing
everybody
everybody
has a connection to art in a way, and it's a personal connection, and they can explain it all they want to me, but I'm not going to understand it.
Yeah, bro, but there's a lot of breakers that don't even care about the art.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a lot of kind of misinformed people, and just people that don't care to like learn more, I guess, is maybe the best way.
And that's what you're seeing more, and that's why you have all this social media.
But also, I don't want to detract from them and say that they're too stupid to eventually figure it out, because at some point in my life, and your life too probably, we were in their shoes thinking that we know everything, and we don't. And then eventually you came to a point where like, hey, actually this goes deeper, and then you found, you know, a true love for everything, and now you're at this point now that we've grown. We've grown, and obviously I don't think we're the fucking bastion of fucking knowledge or anything. Like I think if anything, I know more of what I don't know. You know, You're young, you think you know everything, and then you realize you don't know everything, and then you get older, you keep learning. Your knowledge base is way bigger than it was when you were younger, but you still have a understanding that there's this huge void of stuff you still don't know, and it's there, and it humbles you in a way, I guess.
Yes. It's like when you become old, or if you just think about death or anything, you're gonna go deep into the thought of that, and once you're there, then obviously you're gonna experience. So once keep going. You could cut it, or
no, you can keep going. I'll cut it, but
all right.
Whatever.
Well, so if you think about the concept of death, or anything in general, when life is gonna end, or once you're there, obviously you're gonna experience it. You're gonna grow through it, and you're saying that dancers usually, it's gonna take them time to get there to understand it. That we shouldn't worry, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't knock on what it's going on right now, of what's going, like, you know, the whole scene, but I think it is getting lost, and the emotion, the aspect of art
in the mainstream, I think.
And even when you go to jams, man, like, you don't see people trying to contribute originality. Everybody's trying to like copy a person's move and run with it.
But the art doesn't need to be mainstream, in my opinion, and I think that's what I'm trying to explain, is that the art doesn't need to be mainstream.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And I would say the best artists probably weren't ever mainstream at their time. I mean, Van Gogh is a perfect example.
Yeah.
He basically went crazy because he couldn't be mainstream. And they say, you know, he had a lot of like mental issues. He also had like some color blindness too that made him paint in a very interesting way. And at the time, it's like people didn't understand his art, and they went, this is shit. We don't want this. Like, we don't have any value over this. And then we look at it and we realize how brilliant of an artist he actually was, and we have huge value to it. And I mean,
I agree. That's how I see it too. Like I told you, I don't want to be mainstream. I don't want to be. Being famous to me, it's poisonous. I'd rather live life and create what I could create and contribute.
I think you don't even need to focus on that. I mean,
exactly.
Famous or not, like it shouldn't even factor into the equation. I mean, you know what I mean? If you're basically chasing to not be famous or chasing to be famous, like you just have extra stuff in the equation of what you're trying to make your art into. You know what I mean? When you should really just focus on the things you're passionate about and how to make them, you know, how to express it better. You know, like having ulterior motives baked into that, I think is just not doing yourself any favor. So I've tried to have a big push to like just, you know, become a minimalist in a way of how you create, you know, just have the stuff that you want to have there and don't have any extra baggage, you know?
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I see it. Yeah, I think that there's like for me, or like creativity or understanding creativity, if you look at just the whole concept of creating or anything in general, and like I don't know how to explain it. You gotta cut this shit off. I lost my thought. I don't know. Just tell me another question. I lost my something about creative shit.
No, I mean, no. I think that's interesting discussion. But like what kinds of things like actually inspire you as you're creating? You know what I mean? Or like inspire you to start creating, or what gets you out of the rut of like a writer's block when you're trying to create?
Well, when I first started, I actually write a lot, and that's something that I do, or anything that I do in life where I express myself, I do it through an art aspect and through things that inspire me. So like when like the Maya, not Mayan, it's called the Maya, or the Egyptians, or anything from that. I use their concept of art. If you research how the Mayan or the Maya wrote their little dots, so each dot, and then you put a line, it represents a date, trying to figure out things, right? So we're coming to this world and we don't understand what they're trying to express, and obviously we try to figure it out. Okay. So the same way I don't get like I can't create anything. I look at how other people will look at it to create something. Like saying the way they saw it at their time. Kind of get what I mean? Or
yeah,
no?
I
like I don't get inspired watching other b-boys. There's a few b-boys that I get inspired watching, but
I get inspired more of like seeing an energy in a battle, and I go like it's a dope feeling that I'm getting from this battle. That's what I get inspired by. I mean, there's, you know, obviously some dancers that are really fun to watch and shit, but I think in general, like I just like watching just someone just get down and really like express a certain thing to me, and then I get a feeling from that, and then I go, man, that was inspirational. I want to now create using that same kind of feeling.
Well,
you know?
how I do it, like I see something, so saying I'm walking, I don't know, anything, and I see something inspiring, or because I get inspired by anything, man. Because if you break down anything in life in general, if you look at a plant, how it grows, people just see it as just a plant and it grows. Yeah. But I see it as more.
A shape and a color and everything. And
so I do
living thing.
Exactly. So that's the way I get inspired. I get inspired through other things. It's very rare that I get a writer's block because I'm constantly creating, and I created for so long that it's easy to me to create and come up with concepts.
Yeah. You know what? I agree with that, because I don't really get writer's block too much. It's just something that kind of like I don't know if it's just an instinct I have that just gets me immediately out of it, because what I always do is like I just let myself kind of like play around with an idea, you know, and it doesn't take much to have an idea. It's like I could be laying on the floor and be like, oh, this is kind of a weird feeling how this floor feels, and then I just roll with that, and I play around with that idea in my head, and it just turns into something else.
Into a concept.
And maybe it's shit too, or maybe it's the dopest thing ever, but it's just allowing myself to push the envelope with just whatever's happening at the moment, you know?
Yeah, and that's what it comes from. It comes from one simple idea, and then you just expand to it. And
so how do you think someone can develop that skill?
Understanding the art that you're doing.
Yeah, well,
and that comes to foundation.
Like understanding. Well, I would say that you do need that, but also, like you obviously need.
It's because you got to think. Everybody thinks different. Everybody views life different. So it's hard to just say how to come up with it. It's the person that you are. Yeah, like if I wasn't young and I wasn't going deep into philosophy, I would have break different.
Okay.
So if I use everything that I have in life to inspire me and to create new moves, new content. Mm-hmm. That's what drives me. So to someone, it has to be all different. It's the way they live life, the way their journey in life. Because I don't see it, like I told you, I just don't see it as breaking. Mm-hmm. See it more than that.
Yeah.
So if people of what they're going through life express it through their art, then maybe that's the way that could probably help them, or through their life experience, through what inspires them.
Yeah. Well, I think if someone asked me that question, how to develop a skill like that, I would say kind of like an improv skill, like where they say, I think the first rule in improv is to never say no. And so with that in mind, it's like when your mind is saying, go with the flow, just do it. Like see what happens. I think that's usually what I do.
So you're going more
be more open to that. Okay,
so you're going more in the idea aspect of just you're doing something and you just flow with it and you create.
And this doesn't need to be necessarily in just Breakin, just anything. Like if you're writing a story or something. I mean, like I do like free writing often. Just I have kind of a goal to like eventually write a book or whatever. And so sometimes I'll just start writing. And one of the things that I did was, at certain moments in your life, you have a like some feeling, like happiness, sadness, anger, whatever. So I tried to do like free writing, and that moment that I feel something, and I don't need to necessarily write down a story or something. I'm just writing something that is expressing like how that feeling is, and kind of developing what that feeling looks like in the medium of writing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so using that, I think, I guess, understanding that medium is how to really like express, right? And so when you're in a writer's block situation, I think is to just go, let's flow with this. Let's the hardest sentence to write is the first sentence. So don't write the first sentence. Just write the second sentence. Figure that out. Go with that flow. And then eventually maybe you write the first sentence. It's, you already know how to write. You know how the feeling is, and you know how to express those feelings on paper. So how about you just go with what's in your mind right now and go.
Well, I'm gonna bring you back. So when I was in junior high, you know how I told I was like deep into philosophy. So there was a point in my life where I was like, why not create my own philosophy? Mm-hmm. So we had an essay. It was, I think my teacher was Mr. King. Okay. And it was about what do you want to do in life? And I wrote my essay, but I wrote it all together with no space. So I started writing without space. And I remember the teacher saw it and he said like, he didn't even read it. So he just
automatic F.
So I realized that if we don't go through the standards of how we do things in life, people won't recognize you, or they'll just take you as a joke.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go more deep into that.
Yeah.
And so there was a point in my life where you remember I used to write without space, and the objective was, for me, I did it more in a philosophical way of thinking, writing, and living, because at the time I was always rushing things in life, and I was when you're a kid, you see other people doing things, and you're like, man, why can I not get there? And doing this writing made me slow down, made me appreciate life and time.
Yeah.
So when I started creating it, it's called the Everlife Theory. So it's if you spell Evo, life, it's evil life. If you say it plural, Evo. If you say it's evil life.
Evil life.
Because if you say Evo, if you say EV.
Yeah.
And then, and if you spell Evo backwards, it's love. And then Evo, it's evolution of life. And then if you spell life backwards, it's evil. So it was all connected. So
I see.
So I created this concept and I started using it. I didn't tell no one. I told a couple of people that used to talk about it, but I did it for myself. And I was just curious of how my teacher obviously didn't read it. And then I started doing it on the net. And I started realizing, like, yo, man, people are just, it's kind of like a social experiment or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I used to clown you like, hey, is your space bar broken, bro?
So
yo, I got this clean keyboard if you want it. It works. Fresh new space bar.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So and I started doing that for myself because I wanted to slow down in life. And I think, like I always tell you, I'm never in a rush. Our time is not for us to rush, but to enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
So I always go by that. And as a writer, I'm writing, because I enjoy more writing about like rhyming.
Okay.
Because obviously, actually when I was younger, I did like my first rap, and that's where I got introduced to actually hip hop.
Okay.
The first thing it was writing and rapping.
Yeah.
I never, obviously, you look at back then, it's hard to just get or know people that do it, especially in our area. So the writing aspect is something that I enjoyed, and I used it. So like I never told you. So I have a Twitter and I have an Instagram.
Yeah.
And I use it back to what I was explaining. So the Mayans, you know how the Mayans, the way we look at it, we're trying to figure it out, right? So I made my Instagram and Twitter connect. So you have to, if you're trying to figure out, it's kind of like a calendar. So it's I did it as an artist, like that's the way I'm expressing my art. So I did it. So if you see my Instagram,
Your Instagram is a treasure to the world, by the way.
Thanks, bro.
It's like the craziest shit I've seen.
But that's what it is. It's a concept of how a Mayan or Egyptian will write hieroglyphics. It's my hieroglyphic.
Oh, I
but
see.
the way to figure it out, I have to really explain it, but that's for the future. I'm doing it for the future.
Yeah, no, I mean it's there's a reasoning behind it, and there's a code maybe baked into it that it's just it's kind of like your own little personal art project. I guess it's like a life art project.
Yes,
in a way,
and that's what it is, and that's how I tell you. That's why where I drive from art, I see it from other things, and I get inspired and creative from my own perspective of how can I connect it, how the future will see it, and once I pass away, if they want to check it out, they can understand my journey, and it's the same thing of what comes to art. Like I told you, that's the foundation.
What happens if Twitter like bans you and deletes your account?
Then
is lost to the world.
Then it's lost.
Damn, dude.
Because
well, you know what? That's kind of how ancient languages kind of are. Is like the understanding of it has been lost a lot of times, and scientists have just like kind of figured out how it fits together, but they don't understand any of the nuances in the language at that time because it's just lost to history. So
and that's how I see it. And
so are you gonna rig it to do that?
No.
You're gonna all of a sudden, like, right on your deathbed, you start writing a bunch of racist shit and they delete your account.
No, bro.
The key.
And if they delete it, they delete
Vic's,
it.
like, brilliance is gone now.
Nah, because I don't care about being remembered. I think there was I just care about what I contribute to this world and what I did in this planet. So I do this because that's what I drive, and I get inspired by that, and that's why I do it. But I'm not doing it. I stopped thinking about that. Back then, I used to think about that. Oh yeah, I want to be remembered. I want to plant a seed.
Yeah, I think a lot of people chase that kind of thing because they hold value to it. But I think when you break it down, it doesn't give you any value, really. Like, I mean, it sounds cool to maybe be famous, but I think when you break it down, like, what benefits do you get out of that? It's kind of not that much. Like, it's kind of nothing. It's just like, oh, that dude recognizes you. Hey, cool. You know, oh, dope. That's literally the only benefit you get to it, right? And people just jocking you or something. You know what I mean? Or maybe hating your guts or something. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, that's all it is, and that's just surface level, like, props that I'd like to cut out of my life. And to be honest, like, it's just not helpful to you.
Exactly,
you know?
and that's the way I see it.
Getting connected to it, I think, making that a measure of success in your life is not a good thing to have, I think, because it doesn't matter. And if you're already giving it value, then you're putting yourself in a real big dangerous situation, I think, because you're gonna now go, oh yeah, I need this thing, and it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean anything. It's like when art, if you put, the only time art becomes valuable is when you put it in a display. Other than that, it's not gonna be valuable.
Yeah.
So we have to put it to judge it, and then people are gonna start buying it. Yeah. Look at Bansky, what he did. It was like amazing. How,
Banksy?
Yeah. How he did that when he put that art and it started cutting up.
Yeah, Banksy is very interesting, and like, it's one of the, like, well, I don't see. So Banksy is like, they don't know if it's just one guy or like a multiple.
They don't know
people.
who it is.
They don't know who it is, and I think that's one of the most interesting.
But if you
parts
see
of
the
it.
documentary of,
like, they're trying to figure out who it is. I think they have a good idea of who it is, but it's like, there's no official, like, statement of who it is or who it isn't. And it could literally be a man, it could literally be a woman, it could literally be a fucking whole group of people. Yep. You know what I mean? And so I think that's so cool.
But that's the whole objective, that art is free. It's just an expression.
Yeah, it almost makes Banksy's art better, because they're not trying to get fame for themselves. They're getting fame, like, or they're putting something out purely as just art, and you don't tie it to some human form.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
what it is.
And that's the same thing how I see art, or I use concepts of anything in life, and I connect them to what I'm creating. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, and I think.
And that's the same thing, you know, how I told you I started writing without space. I don't want to go deep into the whole writing thing, but that's the whole thing. I wanted to create something that was not normal.
Well, yeah, you were doing something to gain something from, right? You were writing that way to
for my knowledge. Yeah, I was.
You were writing it to make yourself get into a certain mindset, right?
Yes.
And so. It wasn't because someone was telling you. In fact, you had teachers probably telling you, don't do this. And you said, yeah, but I have value. This gives me value in terms of
myself
creation, right? And and you went with that, and it, you know, a lot of people probably don't understand it, but you get some value out of it. And I think that's an important thing to have.
And that's the way I think everyone should see art. And not for it's good to get a break, what people say, and you make a living from what you do. Don't get me wrong, that's cool. And who wouldn't like that? Obviously, be an artist for the rest of your life and making money. But the main objective, if you really want to create art, that should be the substance of what you're trying to express and trying to give out to others, so you can inspire others and they could keep passing it on, or how they say, each one teach one, or and that's the whole concept of the art, of art creating, or creating art.
Yeah. and then definitely each one teach one is, I think that's a philosophy that kind of gets pushed to the side a little bit, but I think it's really important because hip hop, as we were talking before, is more so moments in time than like just one whole thing. Like the hip hop of when it was first created has evolved to something else, and it's continuously evolving, and there's a thread that connects it all, which is largely a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, but every time it's just changing a little bit. And so the hip hop I know is not the hip hop that Ken Swift knows. It's not the hip hop that Cool Herc knows. It's not the hip hop that the fucking aliens that are gonna take over the world and then start breaking and rapping and shit. It's not the hip hop that they know,
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really cool concept that, there's a time element to it. It's a culture that's ever evolving,
and it's gonna keep evolving. But I think some stuff, like, to me, I don't like this whole internet battling. I don't know why they do that, but hey, man, to each his own. But hip hop is from energy, from being next to someone.
Mm-hmm.
So, but hey, they think they're pushing the culture.
Yeah, the internet battling is. I look at it like it's remember that
It's
Bboy.
whack, bro.
Remember Bboy.org?
Yeah, I remember Bboy.org.
Remember they used to have there's like a forum where you post pictures and you can do like a picture battle. It's that. It's the new school version of that.
It is.
And it's not a real battle.
But it sucks that they're pushing it, man. And that's
again, like what I say is like, what do you value, and how does that detract from what you value? If someone actually
it's kind of like
puts value in it, I'm not gonna knock them for it. I think it's stupid, but if they're enjoying themselves, like, who am I to hate on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like mumble rap. If people don't like mumble rap, but hey, they don't call it,
Mumble rap.
I can't hate on it, but to me, it's not hip hop.
I don't hate on. Well, you know what? Actually, I think mumble
it's a
rap
different
is
genre.
hip-hop. I think mumble rap
What?
is hip hop. Yeah, I do. Because here, I'll make the argument. Like, what has been the thread that ties everything in hip hop together?
Music.
It's expression, right? It's expressing like what you do, who you are in a unique way, through music, through dance, through art.
But
right?
you think just mumbling you're doing what? It's like saying a person mumbles is considered an art.
Well, it's a different tool that they're using. I'm not saying that I think it's the dopest shit ever. I think a lot of it is kind of dumb, but I'm trying to make the argument that I don't think it's necessarily not hip hop, because what these guys are doing is they saw a huge history of rappers that had very clear speech as they were rapping, and they said, how do we push the envelope? What do we do next? Like, how do we push this so that we can do our own thing, and we're making a new statement in hip hop? And they said, well, try the mumble thing. Like, you know what I mean? I think what they looked at was like punk rock music, like punk rock, a lot of it is like screaming and just kind of saying some kind of craziness.
But then, so don't
I think they looked at that and was like, hey, you can do that in a hip hop setting too, right? And we're not screaming, but we're like kind of mumbling in a way that you have to look a little deeper to figure out what you're saying.
But don't you think it's a different genre?
I would say it still fits in the overarching
just because the sound
umbrella of hip hop. Well, no, I think it's because of what created it. It's the same concept, the same basic, like, I guess, foundation created it. The same sort of feeling of wanting to take like feelings from from like a street culture and put it into music and do it in a different way than your predecessors. I think that is still very heavily in mumble rap, and I would argue that is more so what defines hip hop than like a specific type of sound or specific beat pattern or specific way of rapping. you know. So they took the established hip hop and changed it in a way that lets them express themselves differently. And I think that's exactly what hip hop is.
So
I don't necessarily enjoy it. I mean, some of it's okay, but I think a lot of it's kind of dumb. But hey, I'm not here to knock something that someone has put a lot of passion into. You know?
I don't knock it, but when they call it hip hop, I don't think it's hip hop. And the reason why is like saying choreography is hip hop.
Yeah, well, I think choreography is kind of different because choreography doesn't have it doesn't tie into the thread of the things that connect hip hop, right? Is individuality, it's like expressing yourself.
But they're still doing.
They're using
stuff.
moves. They what they did is they took like established moves from hip hop dancing, and they put it in a choreography setting. You know, it's like if a ballerina took our moves and did it in ballet, does that make ballet hip hop? No, it just means that they were influenced by the movements in hip hop to do whatever the fuck they're doing now, right? And that's what I look at choreography, because the thread that ties them in is really just moves, and the moves aren't what define hip hop, in my opinion.
I still don't. I see where you're coming from, but for me, I love hip hop, man, and I think it's more about the message that you're projecting, the sound that you're doing. If you know, when you first make a beat or anything, you're doing that as a feeling that you're feeling. And I understand that you're saying mumble rap does the same thing.
It still has a very similar feeling, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you don't even understand what they're saying.
I know, but there's a lot of things you could say. Like, is that what defines hip hop? Not knowing what they're saying? I don't know. Yeah, they're still saying something. They're saying something, and you can actually understand it if you listen. but right, look, think about it. The way that you were writing with no spaces, upon first looking at that, it looks like a bunch of jumbled craziness. And then you read it and you figure out how it was actually laid out. It makes sense, right? You were still structuring sentences. The same thing that they're doing. It's just in a unique way. And I think a lot of people just are not open to this.
The evolution of it?
The evolution of it. I mean, I would say that it's a different style of hip hop for sure. It's like a new style. Probably a lot of people would make the argument that you can't break to the music, and because breaking is like a fundamental part of hip hop, that now because you can't really break to it, it means that it wouldn't be part of hip hop. But I would say that if you stretch your brain around dancing to any style of music or any kind of beat pattern, you can dance to it. It's just different. It just looks different. But I mean, like, right? How do you define hip hop music? So, what do you think are the exact qualities that actually define hip hop? Maybe that we should start from there.
From the music aspect, or
just
anything?
From anything in hip hop. Like, what makes hip hop? How do you differentiate hip hop from something else? Any other kind of culture? What are the qualities that actually make it hip hop? Sure, well, the elements, but what is it that ties those elements together?
It's expression of art. Or I don't know.
Well, because expression of art is kind of in a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's in rock music, but that's not hip hop. You know
okay, if you're talking about music, in the sense of, it doesn't always have to be boom bap sound, but
yeah, sure.
But that's the first genre that I came to. That's the first thing that we heard, right? It was the boom bap. But all right, if you really break down music, it's like you could listen to R&B, right? Mm-hmm. And it has the same thing, but it's a different sound. Yeah. Now, if you put mumble rap or any other thing, they rap. Would you understand you say they do understand a little bit what they're saying, but their music sound is different. Mm-hmm. And it has evolved throughout the years where there's no just boom bap. It changed, and it was more about what people were rapping, right? And now it's more about what it sounds like and the melody, more like R&B. So to me, the sound of hip hop is that boom bap, the snares,
It's what you're used to, though. But is that what actually defines hip hop? Like that, because I mean, hip hop has been around for 50, 60 years, right? Maybe a little bit more. And throughout that time, it's almost 80 to 90% been boom bap sound. So we're used to that, obviously. Yes. And that's what we're going, okay, that's what defines hip hop. But when you look deeper, is actually
jazz, is more jazz, it's
well, so I'm going back to how hip hop was first created, right? What did they have to work with? How was it? What was the means that made it become what it is? You had a DJ that was playing a pre-existing record, mixing it in such a way that now it's got a new sound, right? You got an MC rapping, talking over it essentially in a rhythmic way, putting some poetry or whatever. It's turning some pre-existing thing into something else. You got dancers who are just throwing out random dance moves, getting a certain feeling in them, making them want to do something else. So, like, in my mind, it's that raw energy that comes from just a live setting mixed with putting a flip on stuff, like creatively taking something and that is there and turning it into something new, making art out of like pre-existing things. And I think you can break down each of the elements and it all fits into that. I mean, breaking is for sure like that. I mean, we got so many different, I mean, it evolved from like just fucking kids rolling on the floor to like new moves. Now we've got people like literally flying, doing 50, 90s and whatever the fuck. Like that has always had like a
evolution.
It's like it's an evolution in such a way where we took like pre-existing kind of processes, moves, everything, and we've put a new spin to it. And that's how breaking has evolved. Same thing with music. It's always been like we got this technology here that's allowing us to play a pre-existing jazz record. Now we took the break from it, we looped it, we added some new horns or whatever, we added a bass line to it. We got a new song now. Now we got someone who's rapping over it. We're taking knowledge from the past to make our new art, right? And the form of the art doesn't matter. What it is that we have this personal attachment to it, and it's a unique perspective to it. That's one of the things that ties it all together, is everybody is putting a unique perspective into this thing by taking the all the knowledge that sits on their shoulders and creating something from it.
They're flipping it.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. Graffiti, same kind of way. They're looking at existing structures and they want to make a statement about something on that structure. So the location of it matters, the colors you're using matters, the statement of it matters, all of that stuff matters, and you're putting it down there, turning a pre-existing building or surface into something new, right? MCing same way.
Yeah,
like
your flow.
You're taking poetry, you're taking rhyming patterns, talking patterns, and you're taking those all existed before, and now you're putting it onto this new spin of let's put it on music, let's try it to this beat, let's try this different pattern, let's try to use this type of poetry, let's use different type of poetry, let's make our own poetry and put it on here. But the thing that threads it all together, I think, is more so that than a specific type of move, a specific type of instrument, a specific type of spray can or whatever, that stuff. Yeah. I think the medium I don't think is necessarily defining the art. I think the art is defining what makes sense to use in the medium, right? So that's what I would argue is the real hip hop. So then if I was to look at something like mumble rap, I think it fundamentally still fits into that picture. It's just something we're not used to, because it's so different from the 80%, 90% of other shit that we've seen since before then. But if you look at hip hop, it's always had a new spin on it every generation. And I think we've always kind of looked at it going like, I don't know about this new shit. And then eventually we open up to it and go like, no, this is hip hop. The people that are making this had the same feeling I did when I was making my shit. And who am I to say that isn't hip hop when they are literally creating it in the same manner that I did? And they want it to be different in the same manner that I did. They just did it in a different way, right? They decided to mumble instead of clearly rapping or fast rapping or slow rapping or, doing whatever the fuck old dirty bastard used to do, kind of like offbeat rapping.
Yeah.
Like, they're just doing it in a different way, So I would argue that it for sure is hip hop. It's just something. It's the newest.
I
thing.
never saw it like that, but now I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you're right. And I never seen it like that. I thought, to me, was always like, yo, man, this is the hip hop sound. This is what hip hop is about.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we grew through that, but anything that you have a change or anything changes, we don't adapt to it first. Mm-hmm. But it's something normal that we look at it and be like, yo, man, this is when I first heard it, I was like, yo, this is not hip hop. How are people calling it hip hop? But
a lot of it's kind of dumb in my opinion, but
the way you're explaining it, it is from the same thing. They're looking at one concept and they're flipping it.
Yeah.
And it's elevating, and it drives through everything from all elements.
And I mean, I think the other thing to look at too is that they are taking like their life experience, which is way different than ours, right? Because they're living in a different time, really. I mean, like they were younger at a different time period, and then they're translating that into an art, right? They're still doing that the same way that we did it. It just the result is different. And that's because they had different experience. And you could say that that's how every period in hip hop has been. You're taking your life experience and putting it into this thing to make your art, right? That's exactly how they did it. We're just I think the world has just changed so much in the last like 10 or 20 years that it's just, I think if you were born after the age of like the internet, it's hard to imagine how it was before that. Me and you were born like right when computers first kind of started like being around, and like the internet wasn't even a thing. Like, and so we were the transition generation really between it. But then there's obviously like guys that were like their prime was way before that, and so they're coming in here like totally really not understanding how that is, or maybe they do, but they definitely weren't like dancing this time. And now there's guys that dance afterwards, so we all have different experiences, and just I think we just had such a big shift in the world and culture and stuff that's just translating into a new form of hip hop.
I agree, and it's been changing, and we just have to adapt to it, what is happening now. And hopefully the real people that keep the essence alive keep doing it and keep the understanding of what the art aspect of this dance is about. So it's like the whole thing going with the Olympics. It's they're calling it a sport when it does drive through athletics, but it's really an art form. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's a sport, but I don't knock on what the Olympics are doing or whatever they're doing, but it's the Olympics, but it's just not me.
It's,
it's the same thing as mumble rap. I see mumble rap, it's cool, but it's just not
They're
me.
doing their thing.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Hey,
you can't hate on it.
Props to that. Props to you for doing your thing.
Yeah, that's how I see it
hard,
too.
It's hard to do your own thing in a world that wants you to do what they want. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I got to give massive props to anybody doing that. And so, and then with the Olympics, it's like, I think the Olympics is cool because I think a lot of people like it and want it, but I'm definitely in the camp where I think that it's not a sport. It's not a sport, right? And so when I see an art kind of trying to pretend to be a sport, I have a lot of questions about it, and which is why I've always had questions about battling, I mean, like, I think battling is a fundamental part of hip hop, right? But
because we see battling different. We
there's a
see battling more as talking and
exactly.
translation.
Like it's. I've never looked at a battle as a competition. I mean, it is, but it's more.
No,
of
we
like,
made it a competition, but it's really not a competition.
It's got competitive nature, but in my because in a battle, it's a win. You do win or lose, right? But is that something that fits in the category of a sport? I don't think so, because the way of winning is in a lot of different ways. Like there's not rules like a chess match where like a certain move, like if you can like corner your opponent into a certain thing, and then they just have to, they will lose. You know what I mean? It's not like basketball where you score enough points and you're gonna win.
Yeah.
It's like when you like to win a battle, it's
and there's
it's physical conflict, it's mental conflict. There's all these challenges that are involved with it, and ultimately it's like who can express themselves in the way that makes the most sense and resonates with people, and I think that's really how you're winning the battle. And that's not something that's easy to turn into a sport. You know what I mean? They're trying to do it saying, oh yeah, B-boy needs to have this type of style or this type of move. No, they need to execute in this certain way.
But I honestly think, like I said, I'm not knocking on the Olympics, but I don't think we need it. I think we already had what we have. And obviously they needed us. So
we don't need any of it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's exactly that.
The point is we don't need any of it, but it opens doors. I don't think that it detracts. If we know what hip hop is, and we know and we're striving for that, I don't think it necessarily detracts from it. I think if anything, it's just a new challenge to get around, because I want someone to see the Olympics and go like, wow, I want to really learn more about what this is, because this is something that I've never seen before. I mean, like when I first saw breaking, that's how I felt. It's like, I'm so used to like, other sports or martial arts or whatever, and I'm so used to that, and then I come and see breaking, and it breaks all those rules. It says, hey, you don't need to do this in any way that we're saying you got to do it. Yep. Whereas in like basketball, they're like, okay, you got to shoot this certain way, you got to step in this way, you got to have,
and it's the same thing as skating too. Like if you look at skating, it's about tricks. It's about
there's like there's just more of a defined path to go, but hip hop says don't do that. Like you do what we value is your creativity, your individuality, and so it doesn't really fit into that world anymore, and so I hope that sticks around in the Olympics. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Have a lot of questions about how you would actually do that, and I don't think so. I have kind of a pessimistic look at it that it's not going to happen, and it's just going to be like a battle, who can do a move better contest. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I like. The Olympics is cool. It's the same thing as you putting a bigger jam, and all they do is battle. And like how you said, it's dying. When we used to go to jams, we didn't care about the battles. We didn't care about the main stage. We cared about the ciphers, and we care about someone that came out of town. Let's call them out. So that's what it was about. But yeah, I'm not knocking on it. I just wish them the best. But when they call it a sport, it is something like, we did this for so many years as artists of expressing, and they're trying to change. It's like when they call it breakdancing, and then breaking, and there's little things, but like we said, when we see change, we just have to adapt to it, and it's something new that we don't know how. And we're gonna figure it out, obviously, throughout the years, and how you say we're gonna keep growing.
Yeah, I guess. What would be, like, if you were on the commission or committee or whatever for the Olympics, what would you be trying to push in order to preserve, like, to still do the Olympics,
gestures, man.
But to still
the gestures? That's what I.
What is a gesture?
Like,
Oh no, cocking and stuff. Yeah, that's kind of dumb.
All that, because that's the essence of it, of being with someone, battling someone, not I do this move and you do this move. I think that will.
But would that still get across the?
No, if we do it, we have to put a cipher. We have to put not real music, but the music that's now, it's like very robotic. You can't even feel the drums. You can't feel the soul, the energy of what music.
For sure,
now.
The music. Yeah.
So I think the music, the gestures of what a b-boy, the burns, and people doing more footwork.
Yeah.
Because that's what represents us. That's what represents this dance, is the footwork, when a lot of cats don't do footwork. Mm-hmm. So I think those are the main things.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it going, if I wanted someone to really fall in love with the art of breaking, and I wanted them to somehow go from basically never seeing breaking ever, and then watching the Olympics, and then going down a path that leads them to falling in love with the hip hop that me and you love.
Oh, okay.
How do you want that journey to go? Because I think definitely they're going to come in and see a bunch of basically fucking gymnastics to music, right? And they're going to say, that's cool. Like, what's the next step that they need to do?
You know what they really need to do? They need to put a damn live band. That will make that, when I break to a live band, you're in another world. It's a way different feeling hearing the drum in front of you than hearing the music and the DJ. It really, or you could have the DJ and have a live drum, so you could feel the emotion of the music live.
And do you think that would, so like
it changes your perspective? It really does.
Well, sure, for the dancers, yeah, for sure. But I'm saying
for an audience,
what would they get from seeing that?
I don't think they'll get it from seeing it. You have to experience the whole going to a jam. You have to experience graffiti.
No, I know,
you have
but
to experience
somebody who's
so if I would have done the Olympics, I'll put graffiti in the background. I'll make the whole scene of what hip hop's about. I put the DJ. I put the whole feeling of what, but it's not. It's gonna be two athletic people going at it. So they're never gonna feel that feeling that when you go to a jam, hearing an MC talk. So
well, yeah,
it's impossible for them to experience it. Just a visual thing. Because even if you bring when I brought my friend to a jam, what he experienced, what he told me, he goes like, yo, and he wanted to get involved. He goes like, oh man, I want to learn and breaking. But the reason it got him involved, because it's the experience that got him there, that feeling of being around people doing graffiti, MCs rapping, everything, you know? And they're not gonna get that. They're not gonna get that in the Olympics. Yeah. It's the same thing as the internet going thing right now. You're not feeling it. Like, come on, bro.
But so I know that you're not gonna get that from it. But let's say you're gonna design a way for them to eventually find that. You're on the committee specifically to do that. So when someone sees this completely knowing nothing about hip hop, how, like, you know, what is going to be that transition? You know, because they're going to obviously see dancing. They're going to say, what the heck is this? What is going to be the next thing that they're going to see that makes them go, let's look deeper into this? And then what's that thing that they're going to actually look deeper into? To be
honest, I don't think you could do that. The only way is by
knowledge. You can. You can because it happened to you.
Yeah. No. See, but you're seeing it as, I'm seeing it as just a normal person that just watches the Olympics and sees breaking. Mm-hmm. And the only way to teach that feeling is through education. I have to explain it to him for him to understand it.
Yeah.
Having a committee talking about it, or anybody like when we used to go back to jams, there was people talking about it.
Yeah, for sure.
It wasn't you go to a jam and you just battle and bounce. That's what everybody does now.
Yeah.
But back then, no, there was a thing, and there was people doing graffiti, and it was the whole experience.
So if say you had the right person like commentating on a battle, you think that would be one of the elements that's going to help push this, or what?
No, man, it's not going to push it. It really is not.
But I'm saying if you had full reign on this,
even
thing,
if then I'll make it like a straight jam, a raw. Like it's not going to be on a stage. It's going to be in the bottom. We're going to have a cipher.
That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're going to have a cipher. We're going to have your crewmates over here, and we're going to what the real essence is about.
Okay. Yeah.
And if it's going to go to a broader audience, obviously you're not going to fight, and that's it. That's the only objective of the thing. You're not going to
So what I'm getting from it, what you're saying is that the way to do it is to let it be what it is and keep the cameras and the lights and stuff as minimally invasive as possible, and have like a regular jam showing, having these cameras really depict what we're all used to, but don't overly like get involved with what's happening on the floor, because that's like its own thing. You're just an observer of it, and you're getting the cameras in the right spot so that you can actually observe it correctly, as if you were someone who just walked into a jam, didn't know what the fuck it was, and now you're seeing it and going like, this is some dope shit.
Yes,
because I'm looking at it like when it first happened to me, right?
Let me explain to this. You saw the last Red Bull, right?
Yeah.
Did you experience the same thing when there was people exactly?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is like, I want someone who's watching the Olympics for the first time, or seeing Breakin for the first time through the Olympics, to have that same feeling that you and I did when we just walked into a random ass jam and was like, this shit is dope. Let's go.
Yeah, but see, this is the problem. People look at hip hop as bad. They don't look at it. They don't understand the education of hip hop. So most people that are looking at it, they see it as, oh, this is something that is not good.
But I mean, when you were younger, did you feel like that about hip hop?
Nah, because I got into it because I love the culture. I love what it stands for. That we brought every single race.
So you were introduced into it at a young age, so it was always kind of part of your life. But let's imagine there's somebody who did grow up like having kind of a negative association with hip hop, but then they came in and seen some random shit, some breaking, and go like, oh man, what's this? I want to see more of this, and then eventually finding out that actually is part of hip hop.
But it's through education. You have to talk to it. You have to express it to others. You can't. Okay, that feeling.
I think you're misunderstanding what I'm trying to say. Because what I'm saying is like you have the ability right now to completely design this jam, I guess, in such a way that you can replicate the feeling you had that made you really fall in love with hip hop. How do you do that on a big stage like this to a random person in the Olympics? How do you do that? You have all the money in the world.
The basic scenario how it all started.
Okay, so you want to have a
live band with a DJ,
a dope DJ. You want to have good music. You want to have intimate setting. You want to have good dancers. You want to have
more of a cipher.
A very raw environment.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a big old freaking circle.
No, I know exactly.
It has to be a small little circle, and there's people in the background giving you love. The whole.
So then these, you have that. So you have a situation where you have that, and now you have like cameras or whatever that are somewhere hidden in a way that it's not affecting the mood of a jam, right? The vibe of it. Is that the way to do it?
I don't think there's a right way to do it. This is the whole point. I see where you're coming from, but the only way to experience anything of this has to be in person.
Sure. That's what I'm saying. That's what you're doing. You're designing this. So when they see it on TV, they go, "Oh, okay. This is something interesting." And then like say on the Olympics, they go, here's a live event that's happening in the next month or whatever. They flash it on screen or whatever, and then that's where they go to get the live experience, right? So I'm saying design, like I guess an itinerary to get someone from seeing it from the first point at the Olympics to straight up learning how to break, fucking dancing, and becoming like me or you know what I mean? How could someone do that? If you laid out a whole path, and this is over, you know, it could be over like a set of years too, you know what I mean? Like, but how do you help them get down that rabbit hole from that initial point of seeing breaking on a Olympic stage?
It has to be the rawness, man. I know, I see, I understand what you're saying, and you're saying like creating a cipher, creating live music, having the two crews battle each other. But I'm
saying replicating the feeling
you
that
can't,
you
bro.
had.
You can't. You really can't.
But you can.
Explain me
Because
why.
you did it. I did it.
Yeah, but how can you explain it through an audience if
well, so
okay, let me see.
So what got me involved in hip hop? I saw someone break and I thought that was interesting, and so I started looking deeper into it, right?
Okay.
And I was just a curious person, so I looked into it, then I tried it, thought it was really fun, and kept going. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But that we right now in the Olympics, you have the ability to really like gain a bigger audience, right, and more people involved with it if they go through that same transition that I did and what you did, right?
Yes.
So they need to go, this is cool, you know, and see the stuff that I saw when I first saw it, right? I saw like a community, I saw cool music, I saw just like I didn't even see a competition, you know what I mean? I just saw people dancing, and I thought that was dope, and it reminded me a lot of like those old fucking like kung fu movie like fights and stuff, and it seemed like so fluid in the motions, and that's what really got me to really like it and look deeper into it, right? So how do I get somebody who first sees it in the Olympics to go down that same rabbit hole that I did? And I think, it involves showing them the rawness of it from the get-go, right?
Yes.
Like, so that you're showing the Olympics in such a way that it looks like you just stumbled into a fucking hype-ass jam, right? Like, you just stumbled into the rawest fucking thing.
Well, you need a great MC.
Definitely.
You need a great DJ.
Yeah.
You need, I believe live. I enjoy having a live band.
I think the live band is very helpful. I think definitely showcasing an intimate setting is key to it.
Not big lights, very
the lights need to be less intrusive.
Very dim. You have to have obviously the music and people looking fresh.
It's just you need to have the right people involved.
Yes,
sure.
You really do need the right people, and
I think
I don't think that's what they're trying to head for.
I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, if I was to guess, probably not. I imagine it's gonna look more like the Youth Olympics, where it's just kind of like out on a stage somewhere and call up the person who's battling and just do the battle, and that's it.
Yeah, and the same thing as skating. Skating's gonna be the same way, like how they have the X Games. So I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But when you really you look at skaters and the things they do, I think it's the closest thing we got to breaking skating.
Yeah.
So
it's
very raw, man.
Very similar. I think
from moves.
I think mixed martial arts is very similar to it.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. No.
But what you're saying, it's hard to make seeing it from an audience. It's like it's more than.
It's more. Yeah. But see, me and you, we still went down the path as at first being an audience member and then becoming an actual participant, right? So that's what I'm saying is, how do we design a way to get a random person to
get more people get involved,
to go down that same path? Because like what I would hate to see is just
go to a real b-boy jam or breaking jam.
I want them to eventually.
Jam.
I want them to to be interested enough in what is actually hip hop to actually go to that next event.
But that's the only
from
way.
the Olympics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's the only way. They have to go to a real jam.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
they have to. They have to. So that's the overall goal, right?
Yes.
So how do you do that from the Olympic, from them seeing it on the TV on Olympics? That's the only chance you have to do it. How do you do it? That's what I'm saying.
I'll make a small little cipher. Not small, but pretty small.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a one-on-one, right? You know, you know what make you feel an experience? What changed my life when I went to Outbreak. I went to Outbreak, Florida, and there's like thousands of ciphers, and the jam was going on, and the ciphers were still going down.
They're like better than the competition.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if I want to really have a real thing, then I'll have people battling and people ciphering around it. I think if you really want to feel that essence of everyone dancing, you could have that scenario and look at what it's just people dancing and having fun and just bugging out.
Yeah. So you're the guy shooting this.
All right, I'll have a small little cipher. I'll have ciphers all around it. People breaking. I'll have great music. I'll have a live band. And they better dress fresh. Like, obviously, they're going to give them like their own little thing. And
Yeah. Would you structure the competition in any special way?
I will never stop saying, oh, here comes a B-boy's name. I'll keep it going nonstop. Like, oh, we need up, but the music will still be going. You've been to a jam, so
no, I know I'm the reason I'm like being so particular about this is because I don't think anybody's actually put thought into this. They're just like, fucking, let's just put it on a stage and fucking let people break, and we're gonna do some random ass music. But if we really want to design like a path for somebody who knows nothing about breaking to go down the same feeling as we did when we first stepped into a jam, how do you make them go through that same feeling through the medium of Olympics? How do you do that?
I think
I want to create that same feeling.
If you watch the videos, anything on Outbreak, I think that's the perfect. Or the summer jam, what's it called?
Well,
if you're watching it through YouTube, that's what that.
But do you think someone would have got that through watching it from YouTube if they never saw breaking?
No,
before?
yeah, that's what I tell you. You have
that's
to
what I'm saying. So like, how do you? But I want.
It's hard.
It's a very hard thing. I mean, in my opinion, what
would you do? Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard because I think you want to show a rawness, the rawness that we all experienced. And like you said, like when you walked into Outbreak, you saw all these ciphers, and your attention drove more to these ciphers and seeing what the heck is going on with those, right? So most of your attention throughout the whole thing, the whole event, was on ciphers, right?
Yeah, and calling out people and exchanging.
So from the Olympics perspective, we want to show that, right? How do you do that? You could probably structure the competition in such a way where that's a piece of how they actually win the competition, right? You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I see.
You get what I'm saying?
I see where you're
like
coming
you're
from.
structuring the whole event so that you see hip hop in the way that we want, like really want to portray it, instead of just a fucking gymnastics on a stage to music. Well, hardest move wins.
Look. If you put anything in television, there's restrictions. So
there is.
So you're not gonna.
But I'm telling you, think outside the box. How do you do that?
If I would.
Because this is you literally only
then
have
a live
one
band.
chance.
A live band has to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously the DJ, but I think that's the only thing. That's the only closest thing that could change it. A live band.
So I think definitely that helps create the right environment. And then I would say because having ciphers as part of the means that you win this competition is going to be very key. And making that not intrusive to the event, but having it very clear to the observer that is how to win, or that is how to do this with the right way, right?
Yeah.
So I really don't know how to do it.
It's hard to visualize it and put it in a camera, so they could feel that. It's very hard.
I mean, I would say,
because look, when you first saw your first VHS,
yeah,
it wasn't the same feeling when you went to a jam.
it wasn't, no.
So you just saw it as what everybody's gonna see it as, just people dancing, but they don't even understand what we're doing. So they're just seeing it more as an athletic thing. And it's the same thing when I used to skate when I was younger. So when I did it, I didn't know the story about skating until I started doing it. I first saw it at, oh yeah, I could do a kickflip, or I could do a 360 flip, or anything. But once you got involved with the culture and people doing it, and it's different.
Well, so here I would say, look at it like this. We got
This is a great subject.
yeah, no, the like a movie, for instance, like a sad movie, right? At the end of the movie or whatever, you'll feel a certain way about it, right? It makes you feel love, it makes you feel sadness, maybe even anger or whatever. Like a movie is able to do that, right? It's replicating a real life emotion, right? And I want to figure out a way to replicate that same emotion in the Olympic setting that made you fall in love with hip hop.
Okay.
Like, how do you do that?
Okay,
That's
you know
what
what
I'm
it is?
saying.
I found the answer. The answer is the B-boys
Okay.
and B-girls.
Like the right ones, like
Yes.
the ones that are really dope. And
Yes, the ones, because watching them throw their energy and really trying to express themselves is what's going to make other kids want to do it. That's going to be that's the main source.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think having the right representatives in there, which I mean, yeah,
because if you think about it, when you went to the jam, the first thing that made you want to do it is looking at him doing it, and curious, oh man, how does he do it? And then obviously you start understanding more about it, but that's what made you. It's the person that did it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. That's the kinds of things.
So it's the main thing. It's the person the people that they choose.
Okay. And so how would you depict that on camera? What would be the most favorable way to depict that? You know, like obviously
that's
you
what
have
I'm telling
the
you.
right
That's why
vibe.
the judges are very important too.
Yeah. Well, I would argue that, like, if I'm trying to portray hip hop, I want to have the judges kind of like not really be the focus of it, because I want the dancing to be the focus of it. I do want people to understand a judging system in place, right? But I don't want that to be the focus, because I don't want the competition to necessarily be the focus. But I do want them to understand that there is a competitive nature of this art that we do, and this is how to be successful at that.
It depends on the breaker, man. It really does, because it's how the breaker expresses himself. Once the battle's over, if he's all, yo, you're whack, and he leaves, you're not gonna feel that emotion of him holding his hand and doing, yo, we both killed it. I understand what you did. Yo, I cooked you. I smoked you.
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing. It's like when you go to a cipher, when you're battling in a cipher, you know when you lost. Yeah. It's like, I don't need to get a validation from no one. I know when I lost. Like, you go 15 rounds, you're not just gonna go and you're not gonna do a round with 116 moves. You're gonna go out and you're gonna do one move. He's gonna go out. He's gonna do one move. You're gonna go out. You're gonna do, you know. It's the exchange. And when you do it in an exhibition, that's why I never did exhibitions, because you're doing 1,000 moves in one, and he's doing 1,000 moves in one, and you don't even notice one of the intricate moves that you're doing. So when you're in a cipher environment, it's more about like, yo, I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna do tops. Can you do tops? Oh, I'm gonna go in. Oh, I'm just gonna do footwork. Can you do footwork?
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So, but when you go in a big environment of, you're gonna do tops, footwork, windmills, you're gonna do everything. So it's hard it all depends on the dancer of how he expresses himself and how he translates with the other dancer.
Yeah. Would a cipher setting make the most sense for
Yes.
for structuring the competition around? Like
Imagine. No, wait, I'm gonna change. My bad. Just imagine skating in an actual park, than skating in the actual X Games.
Yeah.
The feeling is way different.
Yeah, it's different.
So if they start doing shows in the street and this guy's just doing this, it changes the whole feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to change the feeling. I want it to be the same that we want to have, it's the feeling that we want to promote, right? I want to replicate that in that same setting, in an Olympic setting. What do you think of the idea of having like a cipher of doom or whatever, like a big ass cipher, and all the competitors are just in it, and you just say fuck it, hour goes, and we're gonna have battles here, and just see what happens.
I think maybe
you have a set of them. Maybe you have like a series of them. Like maybe
they did that. We did that at Headhunters Jam, and it was mad.
It was chaotic though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I remember Clue and Mikey were in it. I was injured at that time, but they wouldn't even let him go out. Like when you go to Outbreak, when I went to Outbreak, I experienced that.
Yeah.
So when I went to and it was in Florida, I believe it was one of the last ones. I'm not sure, but when I went, like people were fiending to just go out. They were not even, their etiquette on ciphers were not even. They're not even there.
Yeah, no. So, I would say the cipher of doom creates a bunch of fucking like piranha b-boys.
Yes.
Like it's just an artificial, like need to go and dance, like go out when you don't need to go out.
Exactly.
And that's something that.
And there's people that are trying to show off when they're really whack.
Yeah, that's the problem I've always had with the cipher of doom. I think it's dope because some of the dopest shit I've ever seen is in like a cipher of doom, like the one from B-Boy Summit. Like no, that wasn't B-Boy Summit. What the fuck was it? B-Boy Unit. The one where like it was like K-Mel.
I know. I think I know.
Vegas, motherfucking.
Was it in Florida or?
Yeah, I think it was in Florida.
Pro-Am?
Pro-Am.
Was it Pro-Am?
The Ultimate Cipher. That's what it was.
I think it was Pro-Am.
Like Flowmaster and K-Mel were going at it. That was a crazy battle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that shit was tight.
I think that was B-Boy Summit then.
I think it was Pro-Am actually. But anyways, I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But like I think some of the dopest battles I've seen have come out of that situation, but I also think that this artificial need to fucking go out needs to not be a part of it. And I don't know how to do that, but I do think that a more cipher-like competition environment is what we should strive to have, to be a part of like the Olympics world. I think that would be a really cool thing to see. I don't know. It makes it much more complicated, but I do think that if there was a way to do it, that's what we should do.
Yeah, I think so too. It shouldn't be on a stage. It shouldn't be with 100 lights. It shouldn't be your homies way the hell over here and I'm way over here to battle. The objective of the whole thing was you're around your people, you're around your crew, and they're cheering you on. Even if you do whack, they're still hyping you up. Mm-hmm. They're still keep going, and that's the whole feeling that when you battle, when you're going down in a cipher and you're battling, dude, and you crash, but you still come out like, yo, I smoked you, I killed you, I look fresh, and then your homies will still tell you, yo, you killed them, but even though you did whack, they're still giving you hype, and that's the feeling, and they need that environment. But to have that on TV, you can't have it.
It's hard to portray for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a huge challenge in that, but I would like to at least try that.
Yeah.
Like try to give a best effort to do that, because I think it just sets us up to succeed a little bit more if we're at least striving for that. If we have at least some defined like vision of what we want this to look like.
And I think honestly, that people are now breaking, it's getting way too soft. And the whole objective of breaking is to like smoke your friend and at the end shake his hand. Even though he's your friend, if he's really biting, call him a biter. Like, yo, you're biting already. Yo, you repeated. It's not like, oh, I'm cool with you. once this whole thing is over, then yeah, we could shake hands and have respect. Respect your art, but it has to be, and that's what's missing. Everybody's like, oh, I'm friends with you, so like I'm giving you love. Yeah, you could give them love, but still like, yo, I'm gonna smoke you. Like if you notice, even competitive people now they wait until someone to be a strategy to win. Like, dude, I practiced for so long. Why should I be waiting when I know I could smoke you?
Yeah. I don't like that whole, like, let's wait to see who goes first.
It's like, it's whack, man.
It looks so dumb to me. I've always gone by the rule of, if someone doesn't go in the first like 10 seconds, just fucking go. Like, it's not a big deal.
Like,
and
dude,
that's maybe like in a competitive world, maybe not the most strategic way to win, but like, I just don't give a fuck enough to like, to care enough to not do it.
And if
I mean, if the song really sucks, then I probably would be like, I'm just not feeling this.
It does suck. It does
but
suck
like,
when the song sucks.
Let's say, given the song is pretty good, I'm not gonna play the waiting game. You know what I mean?
I hate
like
that,
the only
bro.
reason I would be playing the waiting game is if I'm battling with a friend and it's like, you want to go first or do I want to go first? You know what I mean? It's not like, let's wait for this fool to go, because I don't give a fuck about that guy. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to get down.
Yeah,
you know?
that's exactly how I was. I was like, I hate when people just wait, and then that's the whole thing. Like, now you look at it as like, yo, I want to wait and so I could win. It's like, bro, you've been training so hard. You know you could smoke, and what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
So I think the scene has changed, and the way we see it. And that's why, like you say, it became more of a competitive one-on-one thing. Yeah. It's no more crews. Like back then, it was just crews. You go out with your crew, you go smoke another crew.
Like, what's the real benefit of waiting, really? Like, break it down. I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, I can understand what people are thinking about it. They go, oh yeah, if I go first, I don't have the chance to respond to this round. And I'm like, if it's judging, if the battle is judging round for round, then yeah, I guess that makes sense. But in my opinion, I kind of judge round for round, but I also I count rounds for sure, but the thing I factor into it is a response every single time, and you can respond to any round.
Yes.
So in my opinion, it doesn't matter which round it was, it's the response. You know, you're getting points for a response, right? So you're getting that factored into it. And like, you know, because I mean, like, say I go first and then you go, and then we're saying that matchup right there, round for round, that counts as 1 point, either me or you. And then the next round after that is going to be me again and then you. That counts for another point. I kind of think it kind of makes sense, but it kind of doesn't, because me going out, you respond to me, then I go out and respond to you. So it's almost like you kind of need to give a score to both of those, like a half round score. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Like, because the response does matter.
You could still do and that's what
when
I'm
I judge. That's what I try to factor into it, because I do ultimately do like a round for round thing. But I give a lot of extra credit for a good response to something, even if those rounds are not matched up to be technically against each other, because ultimately round for round is not what defines a battle to me. So I don't want to arbitrarily make a judging system that is taking into account something that doesn't actually have value in the overarching world of a battle. You know, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, round for round isn't an actual thing in a battle.
It's not. It's a response. It's really the response.
Yeah.
It's how he responds to you through what you do.
So if you kick that out, there's absolutely no reason for this fucking who goes first game anymore.
Exactly.
It's just a go.
But the reason why is because everybody's friends and everybody's.
I think it's because they fucking have battles that are like 1 round long. You have one statement to make it's not a battle, but it's like you have one statement to go. And you want that statement to be in response to somebody. You know, or maybe there's 2-round battle. Whatever. You just don't have. There's not enough content to actually.
But that's how it evolved.
Develop a battle.
Yeah, that's how it evolved.
I don't
like if you look at Thesis. Thesis is the one that evolved all that. He was Crumbs. Crumbs was the first guy that did long ass rounds, and Thesis. You saw Thesis doing long ass rounds, and
Uzi Rock.
Yeah.
Just like doing
Uzi rock does long ass
Hella
rounds.
long
So they evolved it to be like that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, back then we just go in. If you
Yeah.
see, it wasn't long rounds.
Yeah.
And now they evolved. And now look at Hong 10.
hell long rounds.
So it is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about the long rounds thing. I mean, I don't want to hate on it. I think
You
throwing
could
everything in
see
one
you
round.
could see you could see enough if you understand the art of it.
yeah.
And there's some people that need to. If you notice,
I like longer battles. They're just more interesting to me. you
Yeah,
know?
but if you even notice, there's people on commentary say, "Oh, that was a short round." Like, what?
Yeah.
It's just the round.
Honestly, it's just around. Yeah.
So
It's they'll say, oh, it's short in comparison to fucking long ass rounds.
imagine if I do a
But-
long ass round with just footwork and do basic.
But that's one of the problems I have with that setting, like it, you know, in like Red Bull setting, is like you literally only have 2 rounds to do anything in. So it's in your best favor to freaking throw everything you got in those 2 rounds. So you have a long ass round already. And so then these commentators or judges or whatever are going like, oh yeah, that was a short round because he didn't throw fucking everything in that round because there's only 2 rounds in the battle. But let's say it was like 10 rounds. Like you'd be you'd be an idiot to throw everything in one round because you're gonna get tired. You're gonna run out of content by the end. And I mean, that's why some of the dopest battles you see, there's like a fluctuation of like who you think is winning. Like one guy comes out in the beginning and is just straight killing it, starts getting tired. This guy starts doing way better. Then he hits him with some new shit. And then, you know, this guy gets a second win, comes at it. Like the evolution of the battle is like so cool to see. And with these short ass battles, you don't see that anymore. And so, you know, I like crew battles because you can just make it long as fucking people don't get tired.
That's what I like too.
Yeah. So I'd rather see more of that stuff.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I think actually, if you want to say about the Olympics, I think that's the best thing that will help doing crew battles than having one-on-ones.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Having U.S. team versus, because that when IBE did that, it changed the freaking game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because we saw it more as a perspective of battle of the year. We saw crews, but when IBE brought people from from the U.S.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the people brought from Japan. Everybody was like, "Yo!" It gives more of a battle type feel.
Yeah. No, that's it. I think that's it. Because I mean, you have a crew versus a crew. That's a cipher.
Yep, straight up. And your homies are like, "Yo."
Yeah. No, you already have a cipher-like environment. Yeah. No. I mean, if it's a 10-person battle, you got 20 people in a circle right there, just like hungry to fucking go. And yeah, you can just say this is a 30-minute battle. We're gonna go, and then that's the round. I that's the way to do it. I think that's it.
Oh, to be honest, if they want to do the battle, they need to do a 7 to smoke. You'll see it. You'll see how tired they get.
Yeah. No.
Than doing a one-on-one exhibition. Because when you do it, I did a 7 to smoke and it's different.
Dude, I did a 7 to smoke. It was like the dumbest idea, actually.
It's different, bro. You did it?
I did. Well, here's the thing, is I did it, but they had this weird system where it was like, it was a 7 to smoke, but the thing is you had this like coin, or like it's like a betting chip, and so you would bet on the round, and so like I didn't think about this thing at all. I just entered as a 7 to smoke, and I fucking was winning hell rounds, and they counted all my rounds, and they said I won it like the most rounds by far out of everybody in there. But they were doing it by how many coins you had, and I didn't bet. I forgot about the coin when I was doing it. Like I just put it in my pocket, and they're like, "How many coins you got?" And I'm like, "I got this one," and I think someone handed me this shit, and I'm like, "I don't even know what this is." And they're like, "Oh, but you won. You got the most rounds, but technically on the flyer it says the person with the most coins wins." And this other dude had more coins than me, and I was like he had like one more or something, and I was like, oh, so I didn't win because of that? And they're like, yeah, dude, we can't technically give it to you because of the flyer says this was a coin battle and not a fucking 7 to smoke. And I was like, oh, that's fucking whack. And so like, but I wasn't really tripping at the time. I was like, whatever.
But it's different, right?
I just went to the jam, And then hella people were like, why the fuck didn't you win? We were counting rounds. You like won by like far. And I was like, whatever. I don't give a fuck.
That's the whole. Because you did it.
I just did it for fun.
Exactly.
And I don't think I was even going to go to the gym. I think I just showed up because my friend was going to be there. And
you just entered.
I just entered and I don't know, decided to go off, I guess.
But you see how it is when you do a 7 to smoke.
It's way different.
It's way different than having you going out round one.
And that was the last one I did because after that I was like, man, fuck this shit.
Yeah, and some 7 to smokes are boring, but if you they are, because you see people start getting tired, they can't do what they want to do, but that's really what it's about. That's the art aspect of it. It's the whole objective is you coming out, because your mind has to be thinking like, yo, I have this in the bag, I have this in the bag, all the moves. It's like when you battle in a cipher, it's like this.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, okay, I could do this and I could go back and relax and then come back and know what I can really do. Nah, in a cipher environment, you don't do that. You just keep going. And you catch on moves from what he's doing. Like if he does...
It's a conversation. And
yeah, exactly.
The truest way to really explain it. It's a conversation. Like you're always responding to something. Exactly.
And when you go, it's like when you go out of country or anywhere, they don't know how to speak your language, but they know how to speak your language through dancing. So it's a conversation.
Yeah. And I mean, in my opinion, I think if you're going to judge battles, the conversation has to be a factor in it. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I don't think a lot of judges take into account.
They don't.
I mean, and definitely in these judging systems, I see that's
on
because round for round, like I said, I explained like why it doesn't really technically account for an exchange like that.
I still do it, and the reason why I still go round for round because
it's the easiest way to do it.
Yes,
it really is, and I can't.
And you could break it down easier than trying to look at all the stuff he did and all the stuff he did and be accountable and okay, he won.
But when someone comes up to me and says like round for round, it's this, I always try to push back and be like, but why are you judging round for round? Like, do you understand why? And they go, that's it. That's how you judge. I'm like, but for real, it's like, if you really break down what a battle is, what the fuck does round for round even mean in that setting? And I'm really just playing devil's advocate, but also I'm just trying to make people understand that we're arbitrarily defining things that maybe don't even make sense in this environment.
Yeah, you're saying it in a logical way.
Yeah, I mean, really, round for round, completely just somebody said, hey, this is an easier way to judge. Let's put it in here. And we all just kind of agreed, that's the
But in a cipher environment, it is.
But
because when you're just with them and there's no judges, that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, I think when you just do a lot of rounds, it kind of like shuffles all together, and
but if there's no judges and you're just battling,
there's no.
Then that's what it is, round for round.
And in a cipher, it's different too because you know who won or lost.
Yeah,
it's basically you do the fucking walk of shame when you lose. You know what I mean? Like you're like, dude, I can't go anymore. Like you killed me, and I mean it's definitely like a situation where if you're not really flowing with the battle, you might get smoked, and you might have killed it in the first 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds. You know what I mean? But as you keep going, the longevity isn't there. You might get smoked.
Yep.
And so I don't think people take that into account.
But I think that's why people consider round for round, because I think from where they came from, that's where and it is easier to judge.
It's an easy way to judge for sure. But I always push back saying like you're still arbitrarily giving a value to rounds when the rounds wasn't necessarily something we were even like valuing in the first place.
Yeah. It's like you're saying
competition
existed. It's like they do a tag team move. Okay, you go out and do a solo and they do a tag team move. Basically, they have to respond with a tag team move. Saying they don't have no tag team moves. And then he comes out and he does a solo. Who are you gonna give it to? Yeah. See, it's the same thing.
It doesn't make sense anymore in that setting. So, I always take round for round with a grain of salt. I mean, usually when I'm judging a battle, it's a response. I will judge it round for round, but in the very hairy cases when you got like, round for round works really well when someone is just crashing and the other person's killing it. It makes judging fucking easy as fuck. But when you got 2 crews just killing it, you got to really put some thought into it. And I think if you're just going round for round, it's that guy. And especially you're only counting round for round. He won by 1 round. You got to look back at the data, dude. You know what I mean? Like
I don't believe in ties. I
don't believe in ties either.
And if you ever see me judge, I never did a tie.
I've focused a lot to stop voting ties, because
I don't do ties.
I'm in the position where, like, if you want to know my opinion about a battle, like if you wanted me to be a judge, you're coming to me saying, I want to know your opinion on a battle.
Exactly.
Right. And if I'm literally voting tie, it means I'm not doing that. I'm not a good person to do that.
Judge.
Yeah.
I perfectly agree with you.
I'm here to give my opinion, and even if that's a biased opinion, I need to say it, because that's what you told me to come here to do.
Yep.
And I would say I try very hard to not be biased in the sense of I'm going to vote for my homies or vote against my enemies. So I try very hard not to do that.
Yeah, I'm not.
I mean, I don't really have enemies anyways, but
I was like,
but I'm not going to escape the bias of I like certain styles over other styles. Yeah. And for me to deny that is stupid. And so in the situation where I got like round for round, it's real close, I'm going to definitely go like, what style do I like better? What shit was actually getting, like, what was resonating with me on a higher level? And I'm going to choose that person. You know what I mean? Because it's obvious.
And it's the same thing when, you remember when the circus style came out, animal style, I don't know what they call it. It was hard to judge. It was like, we never seen it. Yeah. So people were saying like, yo, they ain't B-boys, they ain't B-girls, they're doing some other.
There was a lot of hate towards them.
Yeah.
In I think that was like a kind of dark time in the culture.
Yeah, but then
people were just fighting about it, and I was like, it's like what I was saying with mumble rap. Like, it's somebody doing something fucking different, but they're coming from the same kind of feeling. You know what I mean? And we're hating on it because it looks different. Like, what's the difference of saying like you're gonna hate on somebody for the way they look? That's the same. That's the same mentality, and I'm not gonna play that game. You know what I mean? And you might not like the style, and hey, that's your opinion, and you can have that.
And and that's why then judges are important. Like back when our era, when I used to go to a jam, if I didn't agree with the judge, I didn't enter. That's how I That's how I was. But now,
don't enter and be salty if you don't agree with the judges, because it's your fault for entering.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And but also,
plus my objective was never to win. I never cared about winning.
Yeah, just fucking have fun. Like,
but when you were younger, that was our mentality. Like, yo, man.
And you get fucking mad that you lost the battle.
Yeah,
like,
just go to a cipher. Just go to a damn cipher.
Exactly.
And call that. And that's what people don't gravitate to no more.
I know so many people that would straight up like have fucking like mental breakdowns because they lost, and I'm just like, come on, dude. Like, for reals. I understand that you think you won, but there's a lot of people there. Everybody here has an opinion, and some of those opinions thought you lost, and that's the end of it. I mean, you can try to explain your way out of it, but at the end of the day, it's just an opinion, and you can take it for what it is. That's what it is. I mean, I try not to hold people's opinions too high against my own, you know, because it's ultimately everybody's got one, and you know, I don't know.
No, I see it.
I look at certain people's opinions. It's kind of the same
thing when you're judging and he comes up to you, tells you why didn't make it a top 8, and then he thinks I'm gonna remember his round. I remember there's a kid that came up to me and goes like, "Hey man, why didn't we make it?" And I'm all like, not trying to be rude, but you have footage of it, and I could explain you why. He thinks I'm just gonna remember his round. If you didn't make it, that means you did a whack round. That means that I don't remember nothing.
What
I
would have said is, like, if I really didn't remember the round, I would have been like, I don't remember your round, and that means something. I'll say, hey, I remember this round from this guy. I remember this. Hey, there's like 20 rounds that I'm remembering, and none of your rounds were one of them.
And that's exactly what I told them. But I wasn't trying to be rude. So,
sure.
Yeah. And I told them,
you don't want to hate on somebody, but you also want to like let them know that like it's an opinion ultimately, and also like you're gonna if you're.
And if he tells me what he wants to improve, then I'll tell him, let me see your round.
For sure.
Let me see your round, and I could tell you what you can improve, or I could go on beside you and we could break. But I hate when people do that, man. When they come up or they call out people, it's like, if you're older and he's an older cat, and you entered and you don't like him as a judge, then don't enter. And if
I've
you're
gotten
gonna
called
enter,
out a couple times for judging.
I got called out once.
Actually, it wasn't
twice.
me.
Actually,
It wasn't
twice.
me who got called
But-
out. It was
but-
someone else. But I battled for them.
Yeah,
because
same,
Because I was
same
like,
here.
this is whack. Like, why are you trying to call? And actually, that dude was like injured, so he couldn't dance that day. But I actually voted for the guys that were calling him out,
Yeah.
and he was just trying to call out that judge. And I was like, dude, why are you being a fucking crybaby? And I battled. I think me and Clue battled them. But it was just like kind of like, hey, dude, it's not a big deal. Like, it's just a fucking battle, and so we battled for a while and whatever.
Yeah, that's how I see it too. It was the same thing for me. They called out one of the judges. I don't want to say his name, but they called out one of the judges, and obviously we're the judging, so we battled them. But I think it's stupid, and it's like you say, just opinions.
I mean, you can do what you want. You can battle judges. I don't really give a fuck. But like, I guess just understand. Like, I guess put value in the things you actually value. You know what I mean? If you're over here getting butthurt about battles, I think you're putting values in the wrong things, in my opinion. You know. So, what are the things you think you're most passionate about that really drive who you are?
What drives my passion?
No, what are things, events, people, whatever? What are those things that are most passionate to you that really like inspire you to
For hip hop or anything
your life,
in general?
dude? To write backwards or whatever the fuck, write with no spaces, to like Photoshop yourself on an alien spaceship, to Photoshop yourself next to Ken Swift,
It all has a
to
double
wear like
meaning.
the sickest freaking tracksuit at the jam, to fucking, you know,
Damn.
grow a fucking crazy ass beard, looking like motherfucking.
Oh goodness.
Like what is that? What
Just
what drives
existing,
you?
man. Just the life of existing, just in general. If you look at when you start questioning life about like, why am I living? Why do I wake up? And the only reason is existing, is being alive and helping others, inspiring others. I'm here for other people. I'm not. A lot of people say you got to take care of yourself to help others. I do take care of myself, but I believe that I'm designed here for others, not for me. I have a journey for myself that I'm doing, but I think everybody is like how you were talking about the game. That game, if you have your own journey, you have your own story, and they have their own story, and it's all connected. It's all one. It's all genuinely one. It's everything inspires me, man. The concept of living, the life, meeting people, their story.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. It's not. It's pretty simple. It's not. If you look at life is really simple. But if you make it complicated, it'll be complicated.
Yeah, for sure.
It's that simple.
It's easy to make shit complicated.
It's that simple. So.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think that's a good answer.
I think
It's
people
like,
make things too much. They complicate themselves, or they want to do something in life when they should just live the moment and work hard to what they want to do.
Yeah. So be passionate about the present and don't put too much like stress on yourself.
Yeah.
About the details. Just go.
I think
with
you
it.
should think about the future,
For sure.
but live the present, but not
Yeah.
not drive to be there in the future. You like not overdo it. Like think about, oh man, I want to. Yeah, you want to accomplish goals, but the situation that's going on right now, it's the most important situation in life. Whatever you do now.
Yeah.
And don't think about the past. Forget the past, man.
I think I would say your actions now to match up to what you want to be.
Exactly.
I think if you strive to just be a better person than you were yesterday, and a more intelligent person than yesterday, a more like kind, loving, whatever person, if you strive to do that every day, I think you'll get to a pretty good spot wherever you end up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
That's something to be passionate about.
Yeah, and even if you look at life in general, like if anything is that inspires you or you gravitate to or you want to be, the only way you're going to get there is obviously by taking steps. You're not just, it could be in your mind, but you have to take actions to what you want to do.
Yeah, for sure.
So just inspire people. That's my main objective. When I started this, the people that inspire me, I wanted to inspire them. So that's how I see life in general.
Yeah.
And I living the present and just enjoying it, man. Learning day by day.
Dope. That's a good message, and I think that's probably a good way to end this show, actually. So, you have any last words, or where can people find you?
You can find me in Earth. And you'll see me at some
capital A, capital R, capital T, lowercase h.
Yep.
Earth.
You can find me in Earth. Probably you'll see me in a jam.
Bboy Livic.
Yep.
Hit Squad, heavy in technique, Hispanics in tracksuits.
And stay fresh when you go to jams. Don't look bummy, because if you look bummy, you ain't gonna break fresh. So you gotta stay fresh. But other than that, man, thanks to everybody that inspire me in this art form, and thanks to you. And that was pretty much it.
Dope. And so your Instagram is Bboy Livic. Twitter, I don't even know what your Twitter is. Bboy Livic, probably. I don't know.
Don't go follow me. Follow your dreams.
Yo, but please follow me. Noise of the Broke Boys.
Follow him.
Please follow me, because, I post like stupid shit. And maybe some dope shit. And so, well, thanks for being on, dude. This was a great conversation. And thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. And sorry, the show is a disaster.
We out. Peace.